My roommate accidentally knocked over a perfume tester at the mall, and I ended up arguing with the sales assistant on her behalf. Just as the sales assistant was about to give in, my roommate grabbed my arm. "Stop it. If I broke it, I should be the one to pay for it." Someone recorded the incident and posted it online. My roommate leveraged the controversy to sign with a talent agency and made a fortune. After being fired, the saleswoman harbored resentment and came seeking revenge with a knife. I ran to my boyfriend's rented apartment for help, but he didn't open the door. The saleswoman caught up with me and stabbed me multiple times. After the saleswoman fled, the door finally opened, revealing my disheveled boyfriend and his roommate. To cover their tracks, they stood by and watched me bleed to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my roommate broke the store's tester product. Oops. Along with the scream came the sound of a perfume bottle shattering on the mall's tiled floor. Shards of glass flew everywhere as the intense floral top notes rushed into my nostrils, making my already dizzy head feel even more disoriented. My roommate Belle tugged at my arm. "What should I do, Lynn? I accidentally broke the perfume sample." The saleswoman didn't even look up, just glanced at the floor with a smirk. "Damaged samples must be paid for at full price. Please scan the code at the front desk." "Lynn, I just wanted to smell it. This perfume costs $899. I've already loaded all my money onto my meal card, and my allowance won't cover this." Belle looked at me with a pitiful expression. Seeing this familiar scene before me, my still numb mind finally snapped back to reality. I had been reborn. The same thing happened in my previous life. Belle came to me for help after breaking the perfume bottle. We were all freshmen who had just gotten to know each other at the start of the semester and decided to go shopping together. Belle came from a modest background, and that bottle of perfume cost nearly half a month's living expenses for her, so when the sales assistant demanded she pay full price for it, I glanced at the nearly empty bottle, pulled Belle behind me, and stepped in to negotiate on her behalf. Testers are considered consumable items, and aren't meant to be paid for in the first place. The salesperson was about to give in, but more and more people started gathering around, and some even began filming with their phones. Belle suddenly stepped out from behind me and said to me, "Forget it, Lynn. Stop arguing. I broke it, so I should pay for it." After saying that, she turned her face toward the nearby phone camera, tears streaming down as she looked at the salesperson across from her. "Even though my family isn't well off and I don't have much spending money, my parents raised me to be responsible. Don't worry, I'll definitely pay you back." When Belle pulled this move, I was stunned and felt somewhat uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything at the time. I even lent her part of my living expenses while she was trying to gather the money. Later, when we returned to the dorm, we discovered the video had been posted online, and both Belle's and my actions sparked heated discussion. Some people think I'm too harsh, but Belle is different. She's brave enough to take responsibility, resilient like an orchid thriving in a secluded valley. Even my boyfriend Yora, who went to the same high school and university as me, saw the video and praised Belle for her kindness, thoughtfulness, and willingness to step up. Some netizens also believe I did nothing wrong, defending a friend's interests, while Belle's actions left them genuinely puzzled. In short, opinions about Belle's and my actions are divided, with both praise and criticism swirling around. Riding the wave of online popularity, Belle signed with an agency and transformed into a micro-influencer, raking in substantial earnings through her digital presence. Only Diana, the sales clerk, became the target of cyberbullying, lost her job as a result. Later, harboring a grudge, she lay in wait for me as I left campus to visit Yora at his off-campus apartment, armed with sulfuric acid. She tried to splash it on my face when I least expected it. Seeing that I dodged, Diana drew a knife and chased after me. I quickly evaded, putting distance between us, and rushed to Yora's door, frantically knocking and pleading for help. There was a rustling sound from the room, but no one came to answer the door. Diana caught up to me reeking of alcohol, her face twisted with rage as she screamed for me to die. After the knife plunged into my body, the smell of blood mingled with the alcohol in the air. Diana sobered up slightly, panicked, let go of the knife, and fled. Just then, the door finally opened, and there stood my boyfriend, alongside a disheveled Belle. I didn't have time to deal with these two. I just told Yora to call 120. Yora looked troubled, didn't move, and even kicked my phone far away to prevent me from calling for help myself. Belle was trembling as she spoke to me. I'm sorry, Lynn, I'm just so scared, if you don't die. That saleswoman won't go to jail, and what if she comes after me for revenge? I'm not like you come from a well-off family, even without you, your parents would still be able to enjoy their retirement comfortably, right? Yora remained silent, but his actions spoke volumes. They watched as my blood slowly drained away, and I died with bitter resentment, only to be reborn now. The agony of the knife twisting into my flesh and the despair of feeling my lifeblood ebb away still linger in my heart. At that thought, I took a step back, putting distance between Belle and myself. I don't know, Belle, I've never broken anyone's stuff before, you figure it out. Hearing this, Belle froze, her face flushing bright red. Diana overheard our conversation, scoffed, and repeated the question, $8.99. How are you going to pay for that? Belle mustered up her courage and said, don't you think it's a bit unfair to charge me the full price? There wasn't much left in that perfume bottle anyway. That's just our policy. You're the one who broke it, and we're not even charging you for the cleanup. Well, in that case, could you at least give me a receipt? Just treat it like you sold me the tester. Hearing Belle say that, my expression darkened. Belle knew full well that broken samples didn't actually require compensation. Yet in our past life, she still had me step in to handle it for her. I had thought she genuinely didn't know the details, but now it seems she's just accustomed to using those around her as shields. Young lady, do you even have common sense? How could I possibly issue a receipt for a free sample? If you can't provide a receipt, why should I pay? I could report you to the tax bureau, just like in a past life. As the argument dragged on with no resolution, the crowd around them grew larger. And some even started recording videos with their phones. Belle, who had been arguing with Diana until she was sweating, saw the phones raised around her. Her eyes darted a few times, she gritted her teeth, and soon her eyes grew moist. With her profile to the camera, she spoke with the fervor of a past life. You're just an employee after all, so I won't make things difficult for you, don't worry. Though I may be broke, my integrity isn't. I'll pay for what I broke. After saying that, she started scraping together money. She checked every bank account balance, but was still 500 yuan short. She looked at me, and I shrugged helplessly. Belle, I really want to help you, but my friend just had an emergency and borrowed all my money. Worried she wouldn't believe me, I showed her the transfer confirmation. Just moments ago, I'd forced my friend to borrow money from me and had already sent it over. She never had any money to begin with. She only said that to use my cash to make herself look good. In my past life, Belle never paid me back that $500. Not even by the time she died. Seeing that I wasn't going to help and surrounded by a crowd of onlookers, she had no choice but to call her parents. After getting an earful of harsh scolding over the phone, Belle finally coughed up the money. Back in the dorm, the dynamic between us wasn't as harmonious as it had been in our previous life. When dinner time rolled around, Belle's stomach started rumbling, seeing me still lying in bed. She came over and called out to me, Lynn, could you grab me a meal too when you go to the cafeteria? I raised an eyebrow. Don't you have money on your meal card? She twisted her fingers nervously. My parents are furious. The 500 yuan they just gave me is supposed to be an advance on next month's allowance. There's no way the balance on my meal card will last 2 months. Could you help me out? You didn't have to pay for it, but you had to play the hero and take responsibility. Now you should own up to your actions instead of asking others for help. At my words, Belle's face fell, and she completely cut ties with me. I couldn't be bothered with her, so I tidied up and headed to the cafeteria to grab a meal. That evening, Belle decided to skip dinner to save money, telling our other 2 roommates she was on a diet. Meanwhile, I enjoyed a delicious meal with 2 meat dishes, 2 vegetable sides, and some fruit. After finishing, I went to bed under Belle's resentful glare. The next day, right on schedule as in the previous timeline, that video went viral online and sparked heated discussions. Some of these beauty counter staff are way too arrogant these days. Look what they've reduced that young girl to. The brand needs to step up and explain this. Is this really how you train your employees? At some cosmetics brand, I don't get what this woman was thinking. Everyone knows you don't have to pay for broken testers. The salesperson was already backing down. Yet she still insisted on compensating. Taking responsibility is still a good thing though. She deserves some credit for that. Everyone around is so indifferent. if I were there, I would have lent the money to this young girl. She's quite good looking. Does she have a social media account? This time, since I didn't speak and stepped back to blend in with the crowd, it wasn't particularly noticeable. The footage mainly captured Belle and Diana's interaction, and no one was talking about me. Except for my boyfriend Yora. When we met up at the cafeteria for lunch, he suddenly said to me, "Lynn, I came across a video online today. Is this you and your roommate?" I glanced at the video and gave a casual, in response. Yora frowned. "Why didn't you come to dinner with her?" Noticing my frown, Yora continued, "What I mean is, seeing how she takes responsibility in tough situations shows she's got good character. You should spend more time with her. It'd do you good to interact more." It's not that I didn't want to come to dinner with her. She's broke after paying for the perfume and is just chugging water in her dorm room to fill herself up. Hearing this, Yora got worked up. "Then hurry up and invite her down. We can treat her. She's just a tiny girl. Probably doesn't even weigh 80 pounds. I bet she eats less than half of what you do. How much could it possibly cost us?" Seeing me roll my eyes, Yora realized he was being a bit too eager and cleared his throat awkwardly. "Honestly, I'm doing this for you. As your boyfriend, it's only right that I treat your roommate to a meal. Building a good relationship with her means you two can look out for each other down the road." Watching Yora's pathetic attempt to play it cool, I couldn't help but laugh at myself inwardly. Just like in my past life, Belle was quite attractive. After her video went viral, Yora took notice and started subtly fishing for information about her. I didn't think much of it at the time, especially since I'd lent Belle some money and she kept showering me with gratitude. My relationship with her wasn't as strained as it is now. On top of that, while I disliked her previous behavior, I couldn't do much about it because of my boyfriend who thought he was helping me build connections. Over time, they ended up getting closer instead. It wasn't until right before my death that I found out they had been secretly involved behind my back, and they even stood by and let me die. At that thought, I pretended to ponder and said, "I get it, but Belle is a young woman after all, and she's got her pride. She might not want to be the third wheel around us. Tell you what, I'll send you her contact info. See if you know any guys who might be a good match for her. We can pretend we're setting Belle up on a date. That way, it'll be easier for the four of us to hang out together later." Hearing this, Yora's eyes lit up. "Lynn, you're genuinely the kindest girl I've ever met. Just happy to help. It's the least I could do." Of course I had to step in. "If you two missed the chance to meet this time, how else would I get to deal with both of you together?" When I got back to the dorm, I kindly brought Belle a full serving of braised pork belly. Hope Belle's stomach can handle the light diet these past few days. Yora already added her, saying he wanted to be friends. When I got back, she still seemed a bit flustered. I handed her the meal box I was holding. "It was all a misunderstanding earlier. I've never been good at handling unexpected situations since I was young, so I didn't really help you out. Hope you don't mind. My boyfriend said you seem like a good person just from looking at you. We can all be friends from now on. Here, I got you some food. You've probably been lacking protein these past few days. Make sure to get your nutrients back." Seeing me say that, Belle broke into a smile and gave my hand an affectionate squeeze. "Glad you know you were wrong. Just listen to your boyfriend more from now on. He's got good taste, hee." After saying that, she took the food container, devoured the meal, and then slumped back in her chair. "Lynn, thanks for the braised pork. I've signed with an agency now. I'll treat you once the money comes in." That's just talk. In my past life, I never got to have a single meal on her dime before I died, but I am a bit curious about the company she signed with. "Which agency did you sign with? Are you going to be a big-time influencer or celebrity now?" Belle was clearly flattered by that comment, grinning from ear to ear. "It's Citrus Entertainment. They're incredibly sincere. Said they'd give me an advance payment as soon as I sign, and even want me to shoot an ad." In her past life, two companies wanted to sign her. One was an established firm that had been around for years. While the benefits weren't great, it was a safe bet. The other was this out-of-nowhere Citrus Entertainment, basically the pet project of some rich kid. It didn't last long before going under, caught up in shady dual contracts and partnering with sketchy, unverified brands. In my previous life, I spent a long time analyzing the options for Belle, but in the end, I played it safe and chose the well-established company. This time around, without my help, Belle, desperate for money, opted for the flashy but overhyped new company. I shook my head and idly swiped my finger across my phone screen a few times. The video from a while back has been gaining more and more traction, with plenty of new entries popping up. Eventually I realized it was never going to blow up naturally. Capital just took a liking to Belle's looks, so they quietly paid for promoters behind the scenes. The later videos were even edited to exaggerate the sales assistant's snobbish attitude, like rolling her eyes constantly and looking down her nose at people. The backlash against Diana has been absolutely overwhelming. The perfume company has officially responded, stating they'll conduct staff training, and Diana has already been fired. By my reckoning, Diana's meltdown isn't far off, but this time, Belle is the only one in her crosshairs for revenge. I saw Belle swaying in front of the mirror, daydreaming about the future with eager anticipation. Which will come first, the agency's collapse or Diana's revenge, and which of these can Belle possibly handle? Lately, when I'm with Yora, he keeps zoning out and grinning at his phone. I get it. My boyfriend is in love, the person I'm probably falling for is my roommate. To Belle, Yora didn't seem particularly valuable at first, but she was strapped for cash. Even though she'd signed with the agency, that promised advance payment still hadn't come through. Commercial shoots and social engagements all come with their own costs. In this life, Belle is even worse off than in her previous one. She's also a bit more uninhibited now. Every night, those flirtatious words just roll off her tongue. She's in the bed opposite mine, and through the curtain, I can see the faint glow of her phone as she taps away, sending messages to my boyfriend. I later found all of this on Yora's phone, along with the chat logs. There were also several five-figure money transfers. It wasn't long before Yora ran out of money and started borrowing from me. All sorts of lame excuses. A friend came across an investment opportunity and wanted to give it a try. His family suddenly decided to raise boys austerely and cut off his allowance. He skimped and saved to buy me a luxury necklace, leaving himself broke and having to mooch off my meal card. I'm aware of the necklace, though. I burst out laughing. I got Belle and myself each a necklace from the same brand, just different styles. Of course, Belle's is the real deal, while mine's a knockoff. Belle didn't outright say Yora gave her the necklace. She just casually mentioned, "What a coincidence," while I was trying mine on. Lynn, isn't it funny? My recent admirer and your boyfriend both got us necklaces from the same brand. What are the odds? Guess we're just meant to be connected. Her expression was gentle, but there was a subtle hint of smugness and mockery in her eyes. I knew that Belle's past insecurities, born from various reasons, had now morphed into arrogance, fueled by her glamorous new life. The facade she had wrapped herself in was starting to itch with vanity, on the verge of unraveling. After all, that's just the kind of person she truly is. Even in my past life, being with Yora wasn't just about the money. It's simply because despite her inferior family background and grades, my boyfriend still chose her over me. She relishes that thrill. Whenever the three of us went out together, she'd wink at Yora the moment I looked away. She'd kick Yora in the shins under the table when the three of them ate together. She was absolutely thrilled, but I knew her joy wouldn't last. Because I stumbled upon Diana's live stream. In the video, Diana's eyes were sunken, and she had lost the arrogance and refinement she had that day. I know I was wrong. I was in a bad mood that day because I had just broken up with my boyfriend, which is why I had such a poor attitude. Besides, our manager told us during training that we should charge for sample products. I was just following the rules. Please, I'm begging you, don't trouble my family anymore. Some of you keep knocking on our door in the middle of the night, and my family is on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Was what that woman did actually right? She was so adamant at first, then suddenly offered compensation. I was about to verify with headquarters and let it go. Why are you only criticizing me and not her? Belle let out a contemptuous chuckle upon hearing the video's content. Fools will be fools. With so many people filming, of course she had to put on a show. Look at me. Even if the video didn't go viral, I'd lose nothing. But if it did, it'd be a life-changing opportunity bought for just a few $100, way better than slaving away at a job for life. So this was what she really thought back then, not a shred of responsibility involved. I asked her with a smile, what does that have to do with you not taking the money? Standing up for yourself isn't a bad thing, you know. Hearing this, Belle didn't respond directly. She just mumbled under her breath, well, Rich people don't like it when you're too assertive. Besides, I need to show them I've got principles. I see, looks like my roommate's dreaming of marrying into a wealthy family. Guess Yora was just an appetizer for her. Alright, gotta go now. Some guy asked me out for Japanese food. Heard his family owns a car dealership. Can't afford to look shabby. Babe, help me pick out a matching bag. A hint of smugness flickered across Belle's face. I pretended to look thoughtfully at the bag in her hand. I remember this bag. Last month, when Yora's credit card statement reminded him to make a payment, I saw the bill from this store on his phone while he was away. Let's go with this one. It suits you perfectly. Hearing this, Belle smiled. You should get Yora to buy you a bag too. A woman just can't do without one. With that, she turned around, waved at me, and walked out the door with confident steps, using the bag Yora bought to impress other rich kids. Thinking about it, I really feel sorry for my own boyfriend. I shook my head and turned my attention back to the live stream. Diana's eyes were bloodshot, her mental state hanging by a thread. She desperately tried to explain, pleading with netizens to leave her family alone, but every time she spoke, a barrage of accusations and insults from netizens awaited her. I just smiled. In the end, she had a complete mental breakdown, started screaming obscenities, and was forcibly taken off the air. After seeing her go offline, I opened my phone and sent a message to Yora, pretending to share a casual update. Ugh, I'm so jealous of Belle. It must be nice being pretty, getting gifted bags and treated to meals left and right. Yora replied instantly, who's treating for dinner? Must be some senior. Said he's taking Belle out for Japanese. She even mentioned she might not come back tonight. That Japanese place she just talked about sounds amazing though. We should go check it out together sometime. After saying that, I sent the location of the Japanese restaurant to Yora. I could see the typing indicator pop up on their end, but it eventually disappeared without any response. Everything just went quiet, by my calculations. Today is the very day Diana went mad with vengeance in her past life. You could tell from the live stream just now that she's on the verge of a mental breakdown. I wonder if the sulfuric acid that missed my face last time will end up on Belle's or Yora's this time around. And who knows if they'll be able to dodge it like I did. It was almost curfew time at the dorm, but Belle still hadn't returned. Her two roommates were puzzled. But since our dorm mixed students from different majors, Belle wasn't really close with them. Nobody bothered to ask any questions. That was until they stumbled upon a video. My roommate let out a shriek, then turned to look at me. I asked, puzzled, "What's wrong? You look terrified." My roommate's face turned pale. "Oh my God, I just came across this video. Sending it to you guys." Another roommate already had her phone out and started screaming along. "Wait, is that Belle?" And the other person, "Lynn, is that your boyfriend?" The video starts off pretty normal. It's inside a Japanese restaurant, and someone recognizes Belle and starts filming her with their phone. Look, it's that influencer who had that spat with the sales assistant a while back. Now she's shooting ads. Wow, influencers really rake it in. Just a student not long ago, and now she's decked out in designer gear. That bag she's carrying must cost tens of thousands. Belle's youth works in her favor. And with the agency's packaging plus all the high-end fashion and accessories, her looks have gone from a 7 to nearly a perfect 10. She's quite the eye-catcher at first glance. She basks in the attention from those around her, wearing a perfectly poised smile as she listens to the guy across from her. Her smile froze on her face as if she'd just seen something horrifying. She snapped upright the moment she processed what was happening. The camera panned to reveal Diana entering the frame. Her expression was now unhinged, clutching a glass bottle as Diana screamed, "Die!" The liquid in the bottle splashed out as well. Belle froze for a moment, rooted to the spot, until Yora rushed in from the side and shoved her away with force, but the sulfuric acid, carried by momentum, poured directly over Yora's head, drenching him to the bone. I just smiled. Yora was still dazed, but as he came to his senses, he realized what the liquid was. He was shouting, "Water, water," at the top of his lungs, but then, chaos erupted in the room as Diana, seeing she hadn't hurt Belle, drew her knife again. Meanwhile, the person filming cursed loudly, and the footage started shaking violently. In an instant, everyone in the store screamed and ran out, and the video abruptly cut off. For the next time I saw Yora and Belle was at the hospital. Belle was sobbing by his side. having lost one of her shoes in the commotion, despite her disheveled appearance. She hadn't sustained a single injury. Yora, on the other hand, was not only permanently disfigured but had also been stabbed multiple times by Diana. He lies unconscious on the bed. At the end of yesterday's video, Yora realized Diana had thrown sulfuric acid in his face. He tried to find water to rinse his face, but when he saw Diana draw her knife, Belle panicked, clutching Yora tightly. She begged him to protect her, and so, Yora endured the searing pain on his face. His vision blurring as Belle dragged him around like a human shield, taking several blows for her. He lay in the hospital bed, his features scorched and melted beyond recognition. His abdomen was swathed in bandages, with traces of blood seeping through the gauze. He had now slipped into a coma. Diana took a knife for revenge inside the store yesterday, but with so many people calling the police, she was quickly arrested and sentenced. Fortunately, she didn't harm any innocent bystanders. And no passers-by were injured. The video has been taken down, but the incident has already spread like wildfire online. Am I the only one who never liked this so-called Belle from the start? She always came across as so fake, and now her true colors are showing. Damn, that's brutal. The guy already took sulfuric acid for her, and she's still using him as a human shield against the knife. No need to be so harsh. Belle is a victim too. Anyone would panic in that situation. She was just trying to protect herself. This guy must really love Belle. Did you see how the other dude she was eating with just bolted? Even if he's disfigured, Belle will definitely take care of him for life. Well, but apparently this guy has a girlfriend. We go to the same school, and his girlfriend is actually Belle's roommate. The news about Belle's involvement was trending on social media that very day. When she found out, she grabbed my sleeve and poured her heart out to me. Lynn, how could people misunderstand my relationship with Yora like that? You know he's just a friend. I have no idea why he showed up at the Japanese restaurant. I pulled my arm away and spoke to her calmly. I know why he showed up at that Japanese restaurant. I was the one who sent him the recommendation. I thought we could try it out together sometime. When I said that, Belle's eyes lit up. Perfect, so that explains it. Since you're the reason Yora ended up like this, you should take the main responsibility. Belle seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and continued, perfect timing, Lynn, you and Yora are a couple, and even if he's like this now, I'm sure you won't abandon him. Why don't you post a video right now to prove that Yora and I are just friends, then announce online that you'll take care of him for the rest of your life. I can even help you film it. This could go viral and turn you two into an internet-famous couple. You'd make a fortune, so now you're trying to push Yora onto me. I let out a laugh, cutting off her endless rambling. Sure, I'll post the video right away. That very night, I posted all the pre-saved chat logs and transaction records proving Yora's affair with Belle. OMG, check out Belle's roommate's exposé. The guy who took the heat for Belle recently was actually her roommate's boyfriend. Now the girlfriend herself is coming forward with receipts. Wait. Didn't Belle just post saying they were just friends? Getting called out this fast is brutal. I knew that guy had shady vibes from the start, sneaking around behind his girlfriend's back to play backup for someone else. Being a backup option is the least of it. Everything Belle wears and uses was bought with money this guy borrowed from his girlfriend or took out loans for. Even the most desperate simp wouldn't go this far. I went through all the chat logs the girlfriend released. He kept borrowing money from her to buy things for Belle, and his idea of thanking her was treating her to some mala tang. Can you believe it? I genuinely feel for his girlfriend. Overnight, Belle's reputation took a nosedive. Facing too many judgmental stares at school, she ended up moving into Yora's rental apartment since she already had the key. This rental was originally leased by Yora specifically so he could secretly meet up with Belle. The reason they gave me was that my roommate's keyboard was too loud during gaming, which is why I moved out to rent a place elsewhere. If in my past life I had the key he provided me, I wouldn't have been waiting at the door, only to be desperately caught up by Diana. Right now, Belle is hiding inside and frantically calling me. Lynn, what's going on with that video online? What do you mean, what happened? It's all right there in your chat history with Yora. You two were getting cozy behind my back, and he even used my money to buy you all sorts of things, didn't he? Hell, you have a key to his place and I don't. I'm just calling it like it is. That's all a misunderstanding. I'll explain another time. For now, could you just post a video saying you got it wrong? Belle must be out of her mind to say something like that. I threw a few sarcastic remarks her way and was about to hang up when she started panicking. I'll pay you, name your price. I'll give you anything. Do you know how hard I've worked to get where I am? I can't lose all this now, Lynn. Some things just aren't my fault. I'm prettier than you. Yora fell for me. What was I supposed to do? Maybe you should look at yourself and figure out why. Yora's lying there unconscious. You've known him for years. Even if the romance is gone, there's still some bond, isn't there? If my reputation gets ruined and I can't access the company funds, he won't get the treatment he needs. Can you really stand by and let that happen? I don't want to see him die. But let's be real. It's mostly because he still owes me a lot of money. Belle, save your breath. I won't speak up for you. You'd better start looking for another way out while you still can. Oh. And since you're so big on showing everyone how principled you are, Yora ended up like this trying to save you. The least you can do is step up. His future is in your hands now, and about the money he borrowed from me, I can take it to court. Don't forget to pay me back. I ignored the desperate screams coming through the receiver. I hung up the phone without hesitation. When Yora woke up, the first thing he heard was me breaking up with him. Tears seemed to well up in his bandaged face as he stared at me blankly, saying it was all his fault. He fell silent for a moment before continuing. But true love is inescapable, Lynn. It wasn't until I was with Belle that I understood what real love is. You'll give us your blessing, won't you? I wish you both the best. Since you've changed so much for her, she's bound to take responsibility and stay with you for life. I sincerely hope you two are stuck with each other forever. Yora seemed oblivious to the sarcasm in my words. When I said he and Belle would be together for life, the corners of his mouth seemed to curl into a faint smile. It made his bandage-swaddled face appear even more unsettling. He turned and asked me again, 5, where has Belle gone? Don't worry, she should be here to take care of you soon. Yora is an orphan, and he never really got close to his roommates in college due to living off campus. He'll definitely need someone to look after him while he's in the hospital. I've completely cut ties with him, so now it's up to Belle. Under pressure from her agency and public opinion, she was bound to show up. Sure enough, shortly after I left, Belle arrived at the hospital and even started a live stream on the spot. This was the PR strategy her agency came up with. She took meticulous care of her benefactor, turning all the controversy into hype to cash in on the internet. Things like meddling in relationships, people forget all about them in a few years. Belle had no other options left, so she resigned herself to taking care of Yora in the hospital, bathing him and changing his bandages. Those were manageable, that is, until it was time to change Yora's gauze. When that faceless, oozing visage appeared, Belle's scream echoed through the live stream. Yora instinctively flinched and shielded his face. The live chat began to lash out at Belle. Belle steadied herself, wiping away tears as she fought back her revulsion to gently touch Yora's face. I'm so sorry, Yora, I was just completely stunned. The thought of you enduring such suffering for me, with that, she finally couldn't hold back and bolted out of the room. My guess is she went to the bathroom to throw up. Life went on like this for a while, a far cry from Belle's dream of becoming an internet celebrity and marrying into wealth. Her constant skipping classes and poor reputation at school led to failing multiple final exams, putting her graduation at risk. When the academic advisor called, urging Belle to focus on her studies instead of constantly showboating online, Belle shot back without hesitation. Even a tiger can be bullied when it's down. But don't worry, Professor, I've already signed with a company. Job security isn't an issue. This is just a rough patch, it'll pass. This is just too much. Right after she confronted our advisor, her talent agency declared bankruptcy and vanished. Before shutting down, the company exploited loopholes in the contract to siphon off most of Belle's earnings, and previous advertising partners started facing issues one after another. Many people who had purchased products endorsed by Belle claimed they developed severe skin reactions and demanded an explanation from her. Belle asked the company for her earnings, but they claimed the packaging expenses spent on her and the recent PR costs actually exceeded what she had made. If you really do the math, Belle would actually owe them money. Belle told me this in tears. After all, Yora had owed me some money before, and I was smart enough to get it back just before their company went under. Belle asked if I could give that money to her instead, saying Yora had taken out a loan just to buy me a necklace, and now the repayment was due. I rolled my eyes hard and dug out the necklace's appraisal certificate. The the document stated in black and white that the necklace was a fake. Belle had no other options. So she went live from the hospital crying her heart out, but no one was willing to send her any donations. Only Yora reached out to hug and comfort her, but the sight of his face made her gag instinctively. Might as well go all out and start cursing. Yora, I'm just so furious. Why didn't Diana stab you a few more times? Why did you have to survive? If only you hadn't made it, everything would be better. I wouldn't have to clean up the mess you left behind. Wouldn't it be nicer to just visit your grave every year? I'm done, my company collapsed, and no one wants to sign me now. I don't want to deal with you anymore either. You handle the loans you took out yourself. You're on your own. Yora was stunned. It was as if only at this moment that he truly saw Belle for who she was. He stood by the hospital bed, muttering in a daze. But all that money was spent on buying you what you wanted. I became like this for your sake. And you won't even sell your bag for me. Belle sneered coldly. You were the one who insisted on giving those to me. Blame your own rotten luck. This has nothing to do with me. With that, she turned to leave, unaware that Yora behind her had completely broken down and shattered the glass in his hand. He charged toward Belle, clutching a shard of glass. You think I'm hideous, don't you? Then if you became like me, maybe you wouldn't look down on me anymore. Amid Belle's screams, her face was slashed over and over until it was completely mutilated. Yora finally gave back to Belle the fate that was originally meant for her. The live stream was cut off abruptly, but word from the hospital started to spread. By the time the medical staff managed to separate them, it was already too late. Belle's face was slashed to shreds, with wounds so deep the bone was visible. She stopped coming to school altogether. Both of them vanished without a trace. And no one knew where they had gone. Much later, I came across a news report about them in a social news segment. A house in the southern part of the city caught fire, and when the flames were extinguished, 2 relatively intact bodies were found inside. Upon examination, the deceased were identified as Belle and Yora. The two were found embracing each other in death, with the woman showing signs of struggle and the man holding her tightly in his arms. The faceless face still managed to convey a smile, and none of it had anything to do with me anymore. After graduation, I moved to a new city to start my career. One evening after work, I met up with friends for shopping and accidentally broke a perfume tester at the mall. As the glass bottle shattered, I heard a ringing in my head. A saleswoman in high heels walked over, and my friend instinctively stepped in front of me and said, I believe there's a rule that you don't have to pay for broken testers in the mall, right? The saleswoman smiled. That's correct. Testers are considered expendable items under our company policy, so no compensation is needed. I'm just glad you weren't hurt. 6. I snapped out of my daze and said to the sales assistant with a smile, no harm done. This perfume smells lovely. Please wrap up a bottle for me. After the sales assistant packaged it, I took the bag and handed it to my friend. Here. This is for you. To friendship. His eyes lit up, and he lunged forward to hug me. Yay, long live friendship. Let's go. I'm treating you to Thai food tonight. I smiled and said yes. With true friends by your side, the world feels right. Story 2. In our past life, my junior sister immediately chose that pure white, beautiful fox at first glance. As for me, I picked a ferocious-looking black snake. My junior sister mocked my spirit beast for being ugly and ill-tempered. But she never expected this black snake's true form was actually the dragon prince from the 9th heaven. The moment the prince returned to the 9th heaven, he demanded to marry me as his crown princess. My junior sister went mad with jealousy, hugging me as she detonated her golden core to perish together. Reborn in this life, she couldn't wait to snatch the black snake first, leaving me no choice but to take the white fox. Little did my junior sister know. Being the crown prince's consort isn't as glorious as it seems, extracting spiritual roots, severing meridians, gouging heart's blood. These experiences shall be yours to endure. Master, I want this black snake, junior sister Mirabelle coquettishly pleaded to the master. The master showed a disapproving expression. Mirabelle, this black snake seems to carry too much ferocity in its aura. It might be difficult to control. The white fox, on the other hand, has a much gentler spiritual energy. It would suit you better. Mirabelle hugged the black snake tightly, refusing to let go. No, master, your disciple just loves this black snake. I took a liking to it at first sight. Perhaps this is fate's arrangement. Seeing Mirabelle's persistence, the master could only dotingly ruffle her hair and say, "Very well, have it your way then." Witnessing this scene before me, I suddenly realized I had been reborn. In my previous life, I brought back two spirit beasts from the mystic void realm. One was a black serpent, the other a white fox. The mysterious realm is fraught with dangers, and any spirit beast that can survive there is certainly no ordinary creature. Therefore, our master decided to let my junior sister and me directly form contracts with them. My junior sister, with her delicate beauty and lively personality, has always been our master's favorite since childhood. She immediately took a liking to the beautiful white fox and clamored to form a contract with it. The master didn't even ask for my opinion before giving the white fox to her. Even though I was the one who brought both spirit beasts back, I had no intention of competing with her, so I simply contracted the black snake directly. But what no one expected was, this seemingly ordinary black snake was actually Lucian, the dragon prince from the ninth heaven. He descended to the mortal realm merely to undergo tribulations, yet by chance I brought him out of the mystic void realm, making him my contracted spirit beast. After Lucian regained his princely status, his first act was to marry me as his crown princess. My junior sister Mirabelle was green with envy at the time, having always demanded the best since childhood. How could she tolerate me being above her? Thus, in extreme unwillingness, she actually self-destructed her golden core to perish together with me. I withdrew my wandering thoughts and naturally picked up the white fox. Feeling the fluffiness in my hands, my mood became even more cheerful. Then I shall wish my junior sister achieves her desires, living in harmony with her contracted spirit beast, relying on each other. Mirabelle carefully cradled the black snake, treating it like some long-lost treasure that had been recovered. She looked at me disdainfully. "Senior sister, in this lifetime, I want you to witness with your own eyes how I reach the pinnacle. When that time comes, all of you will be trampled beneath my feet." Wonderful, I simply can't wait. Who would have thought someone would be so eager to take on my calamity for me? Mirabelle is no junior sister, she's a living bodhisattva. In her past life, what Mirabelle saw was merely the surface of things. She only knew of my glorious days, when I could become the noble crown princess of the Nine Heaven Dragon clan. But this was something I nearly lost half my life to achieve. Lucian has an extremely violent temperament. Although he was my contracted spirit beast in my past life, he showed me no respect whatsoever. He resented me for contracting him because he actually had someone else in his heart. That person was none other than Princess Daphne of Penglai Continent. In their childhood, Daphne once entered the mystic void secret realm and shared a brief connection with Lucian, which made him unable to forget her for years to come. I took him out of the mystic secret realm, which in his eyes might have been seen as ruining his destined marriage, let alone forming a covenant with him. Thus, no matter how much effort I put into caring for him, he remained as cold as ice toward me. Later, Daphne came to Lucian's sect to seek apprenticeship and became my junior sister, making Lucian's heart cling even more to her. When Daphne's spiritual root was damaged, Lucian dug out mine and gave it to her. When Daphne was poisoned, Lucian sent me to the perilous land of slaughter to find the antidote, for which I severed all my meridians. After Daphne was severely injured, Lucian made me extract heart's blood daily to heal her. Only after Lucian had tormented me to the brink of death did he successfully overcome his tribulation and ascend as the crown prince of the nine heavens. Gazing at my lifeless form, he suddenly attained enlightenment and realized I was his true love. He then recklessly insisted on making me his consort, defying even the heavenly emperor's will. Truth be told, even if Mirabelle hadn't dragged me to death with her in our past life, my fate probably wouldn't have been much better. After all, how could the noble crown prince possibly marry a mere mortal? Given a second chance at life, I'd rather stay as far away from Lucian as possible. Since Mirabelle is so eager, let her go and experience the torturous love with Lucian. I just want to focus on cultivation, striving to secure a foothold in this dog-eat-dog world. I carried the white fox back to my cave dwelling. It lazily glanced at me, then turned its fluffy tail towards me, clearly unwilling to say more. I sighed inwardly, thinking it's exactly the same temperament as in my past life. In my previous life, I heard that although this white fox had pure bloodline, it strongly disliked being close to humans. Mirabelle had formed a contract with it for a long time, yet never even got to see its human form. I spoke politely yet distantly. "You don't need to be so wary of me. Since you're unwilling, I won't form a contract with you." The white fox froze for a moment, then suddenly turned its head to look at me. It finally spoke its first words to me. "You took me away, yet refused to form a contract with me." Unlike Lucian's sinister ruthlessness, the white fox's voice was pure and melodious, instantly evoking goodwill just by hearing it. "This is only natural. All matters should be based on mutual consent. My contracted spirit beast will be my lifelong partner. Why would I seek a companion who's merely physically present but emotionally distant? I don't require my spirit beast to be exceptionally powerful. I only ask for its genuine sincerity toward me." The white fox examined me with surprise, sizing me up for a moment before suddenly speaking somewhat shyly. "Forming a contract with you isn't entirely out of the question, however. We fox spirits have always been devoted to one love. If I choose you, then even if we have to search the highest heavens or plumb the deepest hells, I would never abandon you. But I'll need some time to verify the truth of your words." As soon as the words were spoken, a sudden flash of white light appeared before my eyes. Immediately after, that snow-white fox transformed into a beautiful young man. The youth's skin was flawlessly fair, with exquisitely sculpted features, and a head of silver hair cascading freely over his body. Such peerless beauty could not possibly belong to the mortal realm. Most crucially, the youth was completely unclothed at this moment, his jade-like body fully exposed before my eyes. My face flushed crimson instantly, leaving me frozen in place. Oh my, who would have thought this fox would look so stunning after transforming? Even 10 Lucians combined couldn't compare to a single strand of his hair. "Why aren't you looking at me?" After the white fox took human form, even its voice gained a bewitching charm, truly living up to being a fox spirit. "Put your clothes on first." "I don't have any clothes." After saying this, he seemed somewhat aggrieved. Immediately after, his jade-white arms reached out from behind me and wrapped around my waist. "You want to be my master, yet you won't even prepare clothes for me. What kind of logic is this?" I had no idea it would suddenly take human form. I was already prepared to bid farewell to this arrogant white fox, but that hand clung tightly to my waist. In my panic, I directly removed my outer robe and draped it over him. With just one glance at him, I felt my heart tremble violently again. "Hiss, this half-covered look seems even more enticing. By the way, I haven't told you my name yet. My name is Bran." And so, Bran temporarily moved in with me. I'm eager to improve my cultivation, rising before dawn every day to practice swordplay. With Bran watching by my side. "Isla, your sword retraction was too slow just now, too off-target, and too light. This strike lacks sufficient lethality. This move is somewhat better, but still not quite there." Bran sprawled lazily on the rattan chair, his robe loosely open, revealing his firm chest. While practicing swordplay, I couldn't help stealing glances at him, which stirred up a fire within me. This male fox, putting on such an act. Isn't he deliberately trying to distract me? Then tell me, if this won't do and that won't do, what exactly should I do? I strongly suspect Bran did it on purpose, yet the next second, the silver-haired youth suddenly approached me and embraced me from behind. His warm breath instantly brushed against my face. My body stiffened. Then, Bran grasped my wrist and guided me through the move I had been struggling with. "Focus, channel your spiritual energy to the tip of the sword." Bran's voice reached me, and I quickly snapped back to attention, following his movements to execute an entire sword technique. It's really different. With Bran's guidance, the power of this move of mine has increased several times over compared to before. I couldn't help but eye him suspiciously. Just what is the origin of this fox, despite having such low spiritual energy and appearing utterly fragile? His discernment is terrifyingly sharp, able to spot the crux of the matter at a glance. He was like an enigma, whether in this life or the last. I never truly understood him. I was about to say something when suddenly I sensed a powerful energy fluctuation coming from the direction of Mirabelle's cave dwelling. I took Bran to see the commotion at Mirabelle's place. There, Mirabelle was seen sitting on the ground in disarray, looking pitifully at the black-clad man standing before her. The man had a sinister and fierce appearance, yet I recognized him all too well. It was Lucian. "Too, damn woman, I've told you I don't want to form a pact with you. When will you finally release me from this contract?" Lucian gripped Mirabelle's throat and roared. Mirabelle could barely breathe, yet she still gazed at Lucian with that fragile, affectionate look in her eyes. "Lucian, I genuinely like you." Lucian's face darkened as he impatiently shoved her away, making her land right at my feet. TSK. Junior sister, what's wrong with you? Why are you fighting with your own contracted spirit beast? Mirabelle was about to say something when she suddenly froze upon seeing Bran, her eyes filled with awe. Then, a deep sense of jealousy surfaced once again. You're that white fox. Why did you take human form so early in this life, when no matter what I did in the previous life you refused to transform? Mirabelle's face twisted with the flames of jealousy as she stepped forward, reaching to grab Bran's sleeve, but I blocked her. Junior sister, what are you talking about? Bran is my contracted spirit beast. Your black snake is over there. I pointed at Lucian. Mirabelle snapped back to reality, quickly averting her gaze from Bran and refocusing all her attention on Lucian. The two of them kept tugging at each other, and in no time, they had drawn quite a crowd of disciples. What's going on? Why is Junior sister being so submissive to her contracted spirit beast? Exactly. This black snake is way too unruly. They've already formed a contract, yet it still tries to harm its own master. Look at senior sister's spirit beast. Oh my, it's so beautiful, even if its power is weak. A white fox this gorgeous is totally worth it. Hearing someone praise his beauty, Bran secretly curled up the corners of his mouth, then turned his back to me, afraid I'd notice. Little did he know I had already taken note of his every move. I was well aware of this fox's inherent arrogance. Just at that moment, the master arrived in haste. Seeing his prized disciple actually groveling before a little black snake, his face instantly darkened. You dare, vile beast! The master struck at Lucian, but the junior sister screamed in fright and shielded him. Master, please don't hurt him. Then, she suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. The master was heartbroken. Mirabelle, how could you still protect this vile creature? Lucian is my contracted spirit beast, no matter what he does, I will always stand by his side. My junior sister was still loudly proclaiming her love for Lucian, failing to notice the growing disappointment in our master's eyes. At that moment, Lucian suddenly snorted coldly. Who needs your protection, damned Taoist? How dare you attack me? To everyone's shock, he actually launched an attack against our master. The master was caught off guard and truly struck by Lucian, immediately feeling a metallic taste in his throat, nearly spitting out blood. With quick wit, I stepped forward to support the master, angrily rebuking, you audacious beast, how dare you attack the leader of the Luyan sect? Mirabelle's face turned pale with fear, yet she shielded Lucian, pleading tearfully, Master, I beg you to forgive Lucian, he's not inherently evil, it was I who forced the contract upon him, angering him, it's all my fault, if punishment is due, let it fall upon this disciple. Mirabelle firmly believed that given her master's fondness for her, he would handle this matter with leniency and not truly punish him, yet the master coldly declared, since you sincerely plead for this wretched creature, go to the discipline hall and receive 10 lashes, moreover, you must participate in the sect's grand competition 3 years later, only the victor may become the next leader of our Luyan sect. The junior sister instantly widened her eyes in disbelief, her face turning pale. If it were just about receiving the whip, it wouldn't be so bad, just a moment of pain. But the words that followed from the master made the junior sister completely uneasy, because the master had long ago revealed to her that she was the chosen successor to the sect. As long as her cultivation progressed, everything would fall into place, so she had never felt much urgency. But now the master explicitly stated that only by winning the sect competition could one inherit the Luyan sect. What should we do about this? Among all the disciples of Luyan's sect, I've always been the one with the highest cultivation. If she faces me, can she really win? Mirabelle panicked and wanted to step forward to plead with the master, but the master left without even turning his head. The remaining disciples, seeing there was no more excitement to be had, quickly left as well, not forgetting to take a jab at Mirabelle on their way out. Tisk. Well, now you've got to face off against the most formidable senior sister in the entire sect. Good luck with that, junior sister, Isla. Mirabelle's face darkened as she glared at me angrily. What's wrong, junior sister? Why are you suddenly so angry? Could it be that you're scared now that you know you're no match for me? Mirabelle choked, then suddenly thought of something. Humph, don't get cocky. In 3 years, I'll definitely defeat you. I said I'd crush you under my heel. After speaking, she ran toward Lucian with adoration all over her face, asking softly if he was hurt anywhere. Bran rested his chin on my shoulder and said lazily, "Is your junior sister really not a spirit beast? She wags her tail better than a dog." I burst out laughing. This fox really has a sharp tongue. I knew what Mirabelle was thinking. She simply wanted to continue pursuing Lucian, as the crown prince of the Nine Heavens. Helping her win first place in a sect competition would be nothing to him if he wished. I shook my head. Things aren't as simple as you imagine, my foolish junior sister. I continued dragging Bran into relentless day and night training, because I desperately wanted to grow stronger. The taste of being at others' mercy in my past life remains vivid. I know well that only with a strong fist can one speak with authority. If in my past life I had the power to rival the Nine Heavens, would have slain Lucian with a single sword stroke long ago, how could it have come to such a miserable state? In the following days, I was astonished to discover that no matter how fast I progressed, Bran could always keep pace with my rhythm. Though his spiritual power showed no increase, he always managed to pinpoint the crux of the problem with uncanny accuracy. With such sharp eyes, I'm afraid even our master can't compare to him. As days passed by, news about Mirabelle and Lucian would occasionally reach us. Now the entire sect knows that the junior sister has become a dog licking the boots of that beast, exerting all efforts just to earn a smile from him. She spends all day trying to please Lucian and hasn't visited the training grounds for a long time, seemingly determined to take shortcuts all the way. However, she won't get her wish, because on this day, Daphne finally arrived, as the little princess of Penglai continent. Daphne's noble status allowed her to directly become the master's disciple. She became the new junior sister. Coupled with her exquisite beauty and gentle temperament, she quickly gained immense popularity. What Mirabelle found most unacceptable was Lucian suddenly becoming ruthless and demanding to dissolve their contract. That day, as Bran and I were returning from the training ground, we suddenly heard Mirabelle's piercing scream, "Lucian, I've sacrificed so much for you. And now you want to break our bond for this woman? I've long told you I despise you. It was you who forced me to stay. My heart belongs only to Daphne. Stop wasting your efforts." Lucian's look of disgust pierced Mirabelle's heart, causing large teardrops to fall from her eyes. Daphne giggled softly. "Senior sister, forced affection isn't sweet. Since Lucian's heart doesn't hold you, why insist?" Mirabelle glared at her with venomous hatred. I knew that with Mirabelle's jealousy, going astray was the most natural thing, and she was only missing the final push. Sure enough, it wasn't long before I heard that Lucian had brutally dug out Mirabelle's spiritual root. Daphne had encountered cultivation obstacles years ago, which damaged her spiritual root. Now, joining the Luyun sect, she also aims to restore it. Lucian somehow heard about this matter and actually said to Mirabelle, "Since you love me so much, why not offer your spiritual roots to Daphne? It would fulfill a long-held wish of mine." Upon hearing this, the master was furious. After all, Mirabelle was his beloved junior disciple whom he had doted on since childhood, and there was still some affection between them. Unable to easily punish the well-connected Daphne, he decided to teach Lucian a lesson instead. Yet Mirabelle actually stepped forward to shield Lucian, saying, "Master, please don't harm him. I am willing to bear all consequences alone." In the end, the master's face turned from pale to livid, utterly disappointed in Mirabelle, leaving only these words, "Since it has come to this, don't you dare regret it." From then on, not a single person in the entire sect failed to say that Mirabelle must have been bewitched, to be so fixated on a mere spirit beast. When I saw Mirabelle again, she was curled up on the ground in agony, her face deathly pale, cold sweat continuously breaking out. "Isla, you must be quite pleased to see me like this, aren't you? Haha, you simply don't understand. Lucian just hasn't realized yet that it's me he loves." I sighed, truly unable to comprehend what Mirabelle hoped to achieve by doing this, exhausting all efforts and covering herself in wounds, all just to please a man. Even if she did get her wish and became the crown princess, what then? In the end, she's just a daughter flower that needs to cling to a man, forever without a voice in front of men. In my past life, after having my spiritual root extracted, there was only one thought in my heart, to one day personally take revenge. Yet Mirabelle only felt that she had taken one step closer to winning over Lucian. "Junior sister, now that you've lost your spiritual root, have you thought about what to do in the sect competition 3 years from now?" As soon as these words were spoken, Mirabelle's expression instantly changed. She had been busy trying to please Lucian all this time and had long forgotten about the sect competition. Senior sister. Senior sister, please help me. After all, we grew up together as fellow disciples. I beg you to help me kill Daphne. As long as Daphne is gone, Lucian will definitely notice me. Mirabelle grabbed my sleeve. Speaking with frenzied desperation, I gently pushed her away. Come to your senses. Even without Daphne, Lucian was never the right one for you. It's not too late to walk away now. Mirabelle's eyes reddened. Isla, if you won't help me, fine. I don't need you mocking me. I shook my head and turned to leave. No advice can stop a man determined to ruin himself. Mirabelle wouldn't give up even if she reached the Yellow River. 3. With the sect competition approaching, I refused to slack off and practice desperately every day. Under Bran's guidance, I'm making rapid progress. Almost no one on the training ground is my match, except for Daphne, since her spiritual roots were restored. Her cultivation has been advancing by leaps and bounds. Everyone says Daphne is a once-in-a-generation genius, only I know it's because Lucian has been continuously transferring spiritual energy to her, aiming to help her win first place in the sect competition. Lucian is someone whose love and hatred are both extreme. When he loves someone, he would give them the best without hesitation. When he hates someone, he wishes nothing but their death. To help Daphne quickly improve her cultivation, he even tapped into his vital energy. This caused his complexion to grow increasingly pale. As Mirabelle's spirit beast, he still helped Daphne like this, drawing endless gossip from fellow disciples. Senior sister, you're truly amazing, but I'll improve even more next time. Daphne had her long sword knocked from her hand by me, yet showed no anger, still smiling as she spoke. Having lived 2 lives, I naturally knew she wasn't someone simple. Daphne's methods are far more sophisticated than Mirabelle's. With just a few words, she can turn the situation to her advantage. In my past life, she effortlessly had Lucian torment me to the brink of death. Then I look forward to competing with my junior sister 3 years from now. I had no desire to speak further, but Daphne suddenly remarked, Senior sister's spirit beast is truly beautiful. Standing beside you, it's like you're from 2 different worlds. She gazed at Bran with tender eyes, her expression openly revealing admiration and desire. My face darkened. Who wouldn't recognize such sarcastic words? And to think, she actually set her sights on Bran. Just as I was about to speak, Bran wrapped an arm around my waist, rested his chin on my shoulder, and murmured ambiguously, Thank you for the compliment. We fox spirits value appearance highly, and our chosen masters must be beauties, so you'd better not set your sights on the fox spirits. As soon as these words were spoken, Daphne's expression immediately changed. Bran was blatantly mocking her for being ugly. As the little princess of Penglai, when had anyone ever dared to ridicule her like this? Now that her dignity had been slighted, she felt thoroughly uncomfortable. Senior sister's spirit beast is quite sharp-tongued. I'll take my leave for now. I thought this was just a minor incident, but who knew there would be more to come. That day, when I returned to my cave abode, I couldn't find Bran anywhere. Just as I was about to go search for him, I saw a disciple rushing towards me in a panic. Senior sister, something terrible has happened. Your spirit beast has gone berserk and is trying to violate junior sister Daphne's purity. You must go see immediately. My mind exploded with a buzz. Are you sure you didn't get it backwards? With Bran's looks, isn't it more likely Daphne wanted to defile Bran? I had a million doubts in my heart, but still rushed to Daphne's cave dwelling. She was weeping pearly tears, leaning against Lucian's chest. Lucian held Daphne with aching tenderness, then glared furiously at Bran. As for Bran, he wore an expression of utter despair, his eyes rolling skyward. Seeing him like this, my anxious heart eased slightly. As long as he was unharmed, nothing else mattered. What's going on? I subtly shielded Bran behind me without changing my expression. When Daphne saw me arrive, tears immediately streamed down her face as if she'd suffered the greatest injustice. Senior sister, you must stand up for me. Just now Bran actually tried to assault me, and I was nearly powerless to stop him. Even if he's your spirit beast, senior sister, he can't bully others like this. I'm an innocent girl, and my reputation was almost ruined by him. Lucian was heartbroken and shouted at me, Isla, hand over that fox if you know what's good for you, otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. I was almost laughing in anger, and Bran was clearly even angrier than me. Assault you, even if something happened between us, it seems like you'd be the one taking advantage, wouldn't you? How desperate would I have to be to harass you? Clearly, you lured me here, and when your seduction failed, you resorted to slandering me. After Bran finished speaking, I finally understood what had happened. I had long suspected Daphne had feelings for Bran, but I never imagined she would be so brazen, shamelessly attempting to seduce him without any regard for decency, and she's supposed to be a noble-born lady of high standing. What a disgrace to her family's honor. You claim Bran assaulted you. Do you have any evidence? He appeared in my cave. Isn't that proof enough? Otherwise, why would he come here for no reason? Bran flushed red. That was clearly because Bran stammered for a long time but couldn't come up with a proper explanation. I looked at him suspiciously. Could he possibly have some leverage over Daphne? Enough with your excuses, you damned fox. Today, I'll execute you right here. Lucien roared and lunged at Bran. My gaze sharpened as I swiftly drew my sword to block his attack. Isla, are you deliberately favoring him? The truth of the matter hasn't been clarified yet. Of course I'll protect my partner, not a spirit beast, but a partner. I've never treated him as my possession. Bran has helped me so much. I believe we have an equal relationship. Bran stood beside me, staring blankly. No one had ever protected him like this before. I got into a fight with Lucien. His cultivation was still as profound as ever. Even without awakening the memories of being the crown prince of the 9 heavens, he was already incredibly strong. But I am no longer the Isla from my past life who could only be at his mercy. In this lifetime, I have never allowed myself to slack in my cultivation. The effort I've put in is several times that of others. With Bran's guidance, my cultivation has also greatly improved. In an instant, Lucien and I were locked in a fierce back-and-forth battle. Lucien looked at me in surprise, never expecting that I could match him blow for blow. This caused his gaze toward me to change, no longer seeing me as an insignificant ant, but as a true rival. In my past life, when had he ever looked at me with such an expression? Indeed, the only way to avoid becoming someone else's plaything is to make yourself strong. Both Lucien and I stepped back several paces, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Neither of us could completely defeat the other. In the end, our master intervened to separate us. Nonsense. The rules of the Flowing Cloud sect strictly forbid disciples from privately provoking conflicts. Have you all forgotten, Master? It was Senior Sister's spirit beast that harassed me first. The Master wearily rubbed his forehead. Since you two refused to stop arguing, let's clearly see who was truly at fault here. After speaking, the Master formed hand seals and conjured a mirror of retrospection. Daphne's pupils constricted. In the mirror of retrospection, Bran had barely stepped into Daphne's cave abode when she pressed herself against him without a word. She clung to Bran desperately, refusing to let go. Left with no choice, Bran had to forcefully shake her off. Then Daphne viciously tore her own clothes and began shouting that Bran had assaulted her. This isn't true. Daphne defended herself fearfully, failing to notice Lucien's darkening expression beside her. I said leisurely, the Luoyun sect's retrospection mirror is a treasure passed down from ancient times, comprehending both the living and the dead. How could it possibly be false? Daphne's heart was ashen with despair. She never expected the Cloudstride sect's leader to possess such a treasure, nor did she anticipate events unfolding this way. In the end, her master cast an utterly disappointed glance at her and withheld a year's allowance. She was then ordered to reflect on her mistakes in the discipline hall. The disciples sneered, and they said she was some little princess from Penglai continent. Who knew she'd be so shameless as to seduce the head disciple's spirit beast? Exactly, I used to think she was gentle and kind, but who would have guessed she's so venomous at heart? Daphne didn't dare look at Lucien's expression. It's not like that, brother Lucien. Please let me explain. All she got in response was Lucien's angry back. Does it hurt? Bran looked at my wounds with heartache. Carefully applying medicine for me. It doesn't hurt. This battle has actually taught me a lot. I'm not lying. An exhilarating battle is absolutely something that can teach people valuable lessons. Why did you fight for me? Why do you believe in me so much? Bran suddenly looked at me with reddened eyes, interrupting my train of thought. I already told you, you're my comrade. I know your character. You could never do something like that. So of course I'd stand up for you. Bran's amber eyes gazed at me, suddenly brimming with an emotion I couldn't comprehend. tender yet lingering, completely opposite to how Lucian had looked at me in my past life. Under such a gaze, my heart began pounding violently. Wait, so why exactly were you in Daphne's yard? Bran said angrily. It's because she told me you got injured during training today and were recuperating in her cave. I panicked and rushed over without thinking. Ha! So Bran fell for it because he was worried about me. While finding it amusing, a warm feeling also surged through my heart. Are you so worried about me because you like me? Bran froze. Then even the roots of his ears turned a faint pink. The next second, a fox tail wrapped around my waist. You've been so kind to me. I naturally have feelings for you. After saying this, Bran looked at me expectantly, bewitched by his beauty. I blurted out without thinking, I feel the same way about you. Instantly, the corners of Bran's eyes turned a bewitching red, as if he was struggling to restrain something, his breathing growing noticeably quicker. Then, an expression of unbearable longing appeared on his face. Having lived 2 lives, how could I not know what this meant? Yet I pushed him away in panic. Do foxes just enter heat whenever they feel like it? Bran looked somewhat aggrieved. We fox spirits express our feelings most directly, without all the convoluted ways you humans have. Once we've chosen you, we simply can't restrain our affection, but that still doesn't mean you can just. I wanted to refuse, but it was already too late. A massive fox tail blocked my escape route. Isla, you were the one who provoked me first. No, wait, don't touch there. Are foxes really born to be so naturally skilled at this? In short, that night I felt as if floating on clouds, reaching a state of perfect harmony between body and soul. I kept unconsciously murmuring, no, with my mouth, while Bran continued thrusting relentlessly. What a wicked fox. After that day, I finally formed a bond with Bran, training with him during the day, and being trained by him at night. I feel like if this continues, I'm going to fall apart. But looking into Bran's watery eyes, I couldn't bear to refuse him. Fine, let him have his way. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. The sect's grand competition finally began. As long as ultimate victory is achieved, one can inherit the entire Luyan sect. All disciples and their spirit beasts became eager to try. Only Mirabelle stood alone. At this moment, Mirabelle had sunken eyes, pale skin, and not a trace of vitality. Yet her spirit beast Lucian stood by Daphne's side, becoming Daphne's spirit beast. Yes, Mirabelle was ultimately forced to sever her contract with Lucian. A year ago, no one knew how it happened, but Daphne suddenly got poisoned, and as if by cruel coincidence. Only Mirabelle's heart's blood could cure the poison. Lucian mercilessly extracted Mirabelle's heart blood, then forcibly compelled her to break the contract. Having lost her spiritual roots and suffered severe internal injuries, Mirabelle had now become an ordinary mortal. She was even weaker than a typical mortal. Her tragic story drew sighs throughout the entire sect, with even the sect master continuously lamenting. Even at this point, Mirabelle still says, I was born for Lucian. Even if he wanted my life, I would give it to him. Hopeless. I shook my head. Mirabelle had completely lost her mind. After giving so much, it was utterly unrealistic for her to give up on Lucian. Everything now depends on her own fate. I focused all my attention on the sect competition. After forming a bond with Bran, our coordination improved. My cultivation was already advanced. And now no one could stand against me, until I faced Daphne and Lucian. I knew that defeating them would make me the next leader of the Flowing Cloud sect. Senior sister, after you, Daphne said coldly. We moved almost simultaneously. After one round, I couldn't help but feel shocked. Daphne's cultivation has actually progressed so quickly. Just how much spiritual energy has Lucian been transferring to her? How deeply devoted he is, even after Daphne's true nature was exposed last time. He still selflessly gives to her without complaint, but I'm not inferior either. No matter how Daphne attacks, I can easily counter it. Her cultivation was all forcibly built up by Lucian. She has abundant spiritual power but severely lacks real combat experience. I'm different. I spar with Bran daily, so I have both cultivation and combat skills. Before long, I had drained most of Daphne's spiritual power, and her techniques weakened. I seized the moment and knocked her to the ground. Lucian tried to stop me, but Bran held him back relentlessly. Damn fox, get lost. Lucian found Bran extremely troublesome. Despite his weak spiritual power, he managed to block him with bizarrely unpredictable movements. You lost. I raised my sword and sent Daphne flying under her disbelieving gaze. Daphne landed heavily on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. The final winner of the sect competition, Isla. As long as Daphne is knocked off the stage, that counts as a loss. At this moment, I joyfully embraced Bran. 3 years of effort have not been in vain. In my previous life at this time, I had already become a cripple who could no longer cultivate, but in this life I've reversed my destiny. Bran held me gently, his eyes brimming with love. Isla, you've always been my pride. How is this possible? I didn't lose. Daphne couldn't accept the result, murmuring to herself. Suddenly, Daphne's eyes widened in shock, staring in horror at the long sword piercing through her chest. Mirabelle was laughing wildly and triumphantly, even tears streaming from her eyes. You're finally dead, finally dead. I've waited so long for this chance. Ha 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 ha, now that you're gone, brother Lucian will be mine. No one could have imagined that Mirabelle would kill Daphne right before everyone's eyes. With a desperate wail, Lucian violently sent Mirabelle flying. Daphne, Daphne, don't be afraid, I'm here. Lucian continuously channeled spiritual energy into Daphne's body. But ultimately Daphne still lost all signs of life. Daphne. Lucian roared in agony with bloodshot eyes, and then an incredibly powerful energy surge suddenly emanated from his body. Oh no, run! I grabbed Bran and bolted, because I knew this scene all too well. Lucian was about to awaken. The wind rose and clouds surged, with lightning flashing. In an instant, Lucian transformed into a black dragon. Thunder rumbled across the sky, interspersed with blinding golden light, as the immortals welcomed their crown prince. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. Mirabelle shouted excitedly, Brother Lucian, now you know, I'm the one who loves you the most. Her face flushed with excitement as she fantasized about becoming the crown princess of the 9 heavens. After all, in her view, her actions were exactly the same as mine in my previous life. It was after Lucian overcame his tribulation and ascended that he suddenly awakened, realizing I was his true love. So now, Lucian should come to recognize her virtues. Yet, Lucian coldly declared, You wretch, I'll make you pay for Daphne's life with your own. Lucian swung his dragon tail, brutally shattering Mirabelle's body. The excitement on her face didn't even have time to fade. Witnessing her tragic state, I couldn't help but sigh. In his previous life, Lucian didn't have a sudden awakening. I knew all too well that continuing like this would eventually lead to my brutal death at Lucian's hands, so I racked my brains to expose Daphne's true nature in front of Lucian. Greatly disappointed, Lucian then transferred his affections to me instead. But in this lifetime, Mirabelle only knows how to give endlessly, which Lucian simply takes for granted as her duty. Not only did she not expose Daphne, but she also killed Daphne, making her forever remain as the pure white moonlight in Lucian's heart. This only deepened Lucian's love for Daphne. Therefore, of course, the first person Lucian wanted to kill was Mirabelle. I've warned Mirabelle countless times, but she never learns her lesson. This outcome can only be said to be the consequence of her own actions. Hypocritical mortals, you killed Daphne. I'll make every last one of you pay with your lives. Lucian's draconic form flickered ominously among the thunderclouds, exuding overwhelming intimidation. With just a single tail swipe, he destroyed over half of the floating cloud sect structures. Lucian, as the crown prince of the 9 heavens, how can you treat human lives as worthless weeds? I barely steadied myself and demanded, how dare a mere ant like you speak to me in such a manner? You're truly courting death. Lucian exhaled a breath of dragon fire. Countless cultivators wailed as they scrambled away, while those who couldn't evade were instantly reduced to ashes. Oh no, if Lucian goes berserk, I fear the entire cultivation world will be buried with him. Perish, all of you. 5. My pupils contracted as I saw the dragon's tail about to sweep toward me. Is there really no escaping the fate of death? I'm so unwilling to accept this. In this lifetime, I've worked hard enough and even met a lover who treasures me like a precious gem. Compared to the crown prince of noble birth, I was still just an ant. Heaven's way, how unjust you are. Just when I thought death was certain, suddenly, 9 massive fox-tails appeared before me, instantly blocking Lucian's dragon form. I looked up in shock. Before my eyes appeared a pure white 9-tailed fox, and with it here, Lucian's attacks couldn't harm me in the slightest. Bran, I exclaimed in shock. That fox whom everyone thought was just a pretty face turned out to be an ancient divine beast. The celestial nine-tailed fox, you are, Emperor Bran. Lucian's shocked voice echoed across the sky. The nine-tailed fox lazily remarked, "It's me, little black snake. You're still as temperamental as before your tribulation, such a disgrace to the nine heavens." So, Bran was actually the Emperor of Qingqiu. His status is equal to that of the heavenly Emperor of the nine heavens. Now that he has returned from tribulation, he is likely even stronger than the heavenly Emperor. You injured this sovereign's consort and showed contempt for all living beings across the three realms. Even the crown prince cannot escape responsibility for such crimes, can he? Lucian transformed back into human form, carefully putting on an ingratiating smile for Bran. There was no trace left of the earlier demeanor that seemed ready to overturn the three realms for the sake of a loved one. In the end, he slunk back to the celestial realm in disgrace. Why so quiet, Isla, my dear wife? Bran pinched my cheek and teased. I slapped away his fox paw. I thought you were just a weak and pitiful fox, but turns out you have such a powerful background. Tell me, why have you been hiding this from me? Bran said pitifully. I wasn't hiding it from you. I really just regained these memories myself. How would I dare deceive my wife? I was utterly speechless. The next second, Bran pulled me into his embrace. No matter who I am, I would never force you to do anything you dislike. You are Isla first, and only then Bran's wife. I will always support you in whatever you choose to do. Bran and I exchanged a glance. Very well, then, I shall humbly request your majesty's guidance from now on. 30 years later, I ascended to godhood. Upon arriving in the divine realm, Bran couldn't wait to propose to me. The betrothal gifts were so abundant they nearly emptied the entire Qingqiu mountain. Throughout all realms, none failed to envy me for finding such a fine husband. Yet I returned Bran's betrothal gifts. If I stand by your side now, people will say I'm reaching above my station. Would your majesty be willing to wait until the day I can rightfully stand beside you through my own merits? Bran smiled gently. Of course, I'd wait for you no matter how long it takes. And so, even after becoming an immortal, I never dared to slack off. Cultivation became my top priority. Bran couldn't help but complain aggrievedly, "Madam, even if we're not getting married for now, you can't ignore me like this. I've been left alone in an empty room for 3 whole days. TSK, only 3 days, yet he makes it sound like 3 years. Just then, a disciple came to report from outside the door, saying the crown prince of the 9 heavens requested an audience with me. Yes, requested to see me, not Bran. What's that long worm doing here? Bran said unhappily. As I stepped outside, Lucian's eyes instantly reddened upon seeing me, Isla. I was startled. What's with this overly familiar form of address? In this lifetime, I'm not really familiar with Lucian, am I? Isla, I've remembered everything. You've sacrificed so much for me. You do care about me, don't you? Come away with me. This time I will definitely make you my crown princess. I froze, realizing Lucian had recalled his past life. Help. I really don't want to get involved with this hot-tempered maniac. My waist suddenly tightened as Bran appeared with a dark expression. Lucian, it seems you no longer wish to be crown prince, daring to covet this monarch's queen. As he spoke, 9 enormous tails materialized behind Bran. Lucian instinctively took several steps back. Isla, you love me. It was Emperor Bran who forced you, wasn't it? Just as Bran was about to lose his temper, I stopped him. Lucian, do you know the biggest difference between you and Bran? It's that Bran respects me and treats me as an equal, but you, from beginning to end, have only treated me as your possession. I've had enough of playing this tragic love game with you. If you ever dare set foot in Qingqiu again, I will show you no mercy. Lucian's face turned pale. I never saw him again after that. 100 years later, I ascended to godhood, held a grand wedding with Bran. In this lifetime, I've finally truly taken control of my own destiny. The end. Story 2. In my previous life, I unlocked my supernatural ability. I led my husband to survive arduously. When the zombies came, my husband pushed me towards the zombie horde. But in this life, I was reborn. Facing the upcoming zombie horde, I plan to keep my mouth shut. You two so-called lovers, just enjoy yourselves. You won't be able to survive in the end. 1. On January 7, 2042, the end of the world came, and the zombie virus swept across the earth. My husband Jonathan, his friends, and I hid from place to place, living in dire straits every day. I was so highly nervous that after being scratched and infected by a zombie, I awakened my supernatural ability. This ability allowed me to sense the number of zombies within a radius of 2 kilometers. With the help of this ability, we managed to avoid large groups of zombies all the way and headed towards the safe base announced on the radio. However, during the journey, when I could sense the zombies, it was already too late to choose another route. That large-scale zombie horde was gradually approaching and surrounded us. During the battle, our vehicle was damaged. Some people kept throwing out supplies to lighten the load, others, including me and Jonathan, were fending off the invasion of the zombies. Just as I split open the head of the zombie in front of me with the axe in my hand, I suddenly felt a force behind me push me hard. I rolled out of the vehicle and fell, bleeding from the head. When I looked at the person who had harmed me, it turned out to be my husband Jonathan, the person I slept beside every night. His mouth opened and closed, and I could clearly see what he said: "You're already useless." In the end, I was overwhelmed by the zombie horde and was completely devoured. But I didn't die immediately. Instead, I became a wandering soul and followed Jonathan all the way. They only drove 3 kilometers and safely reached the safe base. I could have survived too. Just before I was about to disappear, I saw Jonathan, after getting out of the vehicle, embracing and kissing a man. This man, Natalie, was also one of Jonathan's friends. They used to call each other good brothers. In daily life, the pain, nausea, and disbelief made it hard for me to breathe. A sudden white light enveloped me and took away my consciousness, but when I woke up again, my face was covered with tears and my eyes were bloodshot. I turned my head and looked at Jonathan, who was sleeping peacefully beside me. The more I looked at him, the more he seemed like a gay man. If I looked at him one more time, I would vomit all over his face. So I was reborn. I turned over and got out of bed, and looked at the time. January 1st, 2042. There were still 5 days until the zombie outbreak. It was still in time, everything was still in time, too. Before I left this house, I wanted to take my bank card and cash with me. I took a look at the marriage certificate. Forget it, I didn't want it, I would be a widow sooner or later anyway. Oh, right, I also transferred out all the money from the small purse that Jonathan and I shared. Damn it, I remembered that it was always me who put money in it. Who else is as much of a philanthropist as I am? However, when I was looking for the bank card, I saw a mobile phone whose screen suddenly lit up. "Do you miss me? Do you want to have my big money? Say something, lazy pig, you must still be sleeping." With a beep, a transfer message of 1,000 yuan popped up. I wondered who was this unlucky guy. When I opened it, I found the note, "Good brother." Then I looked at the real name authentication, and it was Natalie. Then there was a flood of messages, full of foul language, and even many pornographic animated pictures. Great. So you city people call this a good brother, huh? Jonathan, you really have the nerve. You specifically got this broken mobile phone just to secretly contact your lover. No wonder you obediently let me check the mobile phone you usually use, and even let me check WeChat and Douyin. You didn't have any good sisters or good elder sisters, and you didn't watch any beautiful women dancing or doing yoga. So you were waiting for me here. I quickly accepted the money, then I transferred it to myself. After that, I put the mobile phone back in its place and left without looking back. I left the house where I had lived for 2 years after getting married without even blinking an eye. The other things I left in that house could be considered as donations. Anyway, I'm not short of money. In this life, I want these 2 gay men to also feel the pain of being bitten by zombies. You 2 lovers, just enjoy yourselves. Soon, neither of you will be able to survive. 3. I didn't go to work and immediately went to the edge of the city. In a high-end villa apartment complex, I selected my ideal safe house. After the end of the world began, it was impossible for the safe bases established by the state between each urban area to be built quickly. Even during the construction process, an excellent location was abandoned after being damaged by the zombie horde. I remember that it was at least a year and a half later that the radio dared to notify the surviving people to go to the safe base. This time, I don't want to live in constant fear anymore. The little real estate agent girl was full of enthusiasm and showed me one villa after another. In the end, I chose one on a slope. The little girl didn't understand. When I entered the house, I saw that the decoration was nice and the electrical appliances were complete. The various functions of the basic infrastructure were all in good condition. It was said that everything had just been inspected. What satisfied me the most was that there was no furniture arranged. I would have plenty of opportunities to show my abilities later, but the real estate agent kept carefully observing my expression. "Sister, you must rent the one on the slope. Actually, there is another one you can take a look at. There is a really big bed in that one." I said, "No." I waved my hand and said, "This is the one. How much is it?" She was overjoyed. "Okay, sister, here, we basically rent for at least half a year, with 1 month's rent as a deposit and 6 months' rent paid in advance. In total, you see, it's," I smiled and said, "rent it for 2 years first, just swipe the card." After getting the villa password, the real estate agent bowed and thanked me, and even bought me 2 boxes of fresh cherries. She said that the economy was not good, but she could finally get her salary this month because of me. I sighed and only said to her, "Sister can tell that you are an honest person. Sister will tell you one thing, after you go home, stock up on more supplies, don't go out if you can avoid it." As soon as the real estate agent left, I contacted the master to come over. All the glass in the house was replaced with double-layer bulletproof glass. Then, excellent ceiling anti-theft fences were installed. Yes, the most important thing was the electric fence. Oh, my friend, the electric fence was not for attacking zombies, but for those few humans who could be just as heartless to their fellow beings. The sound insulation and odor insulation of this house were good, but I still wasn't so I asked the masters to strengthen the sound and odor insulation for me, to the extent that even the zombies would find it boring and walk around. The masters laughed at me, saying that I had too much money and was too paranoid, always afraid of being targeted. I wiped my tears and said that I had just been diagnosed with severe mental illness in the hospital. The doctor told me to stay alone and not go out to cause trouble for others. I also showed the masters the scar on the back of my head that looked like a centipede. I said that I had had a skull operation and must rest well to avoid any further problems. The masters never talked to me again after that, and they all ran away faster than each other after finishing the work. Before I could sit down and rest, the phone rang. I thought it was Jonathan, who had finally woken up after sleeping in and found that I was not there, calling me unexpectedly. It was Jason. He was also one of Jonathan's friends, but he was a rather silent person. I had never seen him in a relationship. I always thought he was the gay one, so I had always treated him as a male sister. As soon as I answered the phone, there was a lot of concern and greetings. Finally, he asked me, "Lila, can we have lunch together at noon, even at night?" "It's okay too," for, of course I chose not to have a meal at any of those time periods. What's there to eat? The end of the world is coming soon, and there's no time to think about such things. I had another project scheduled for the afternoon, and I couldn't afford to delay it. I only told Jason to pack his luggage and come to my safe house to find me. When he heard about this place, he thought I was going to have a tryst with him, and he stammered, not daring to agree. I couldn't help laughing. It was really hard to imagine that in my previous life, after I was pushed out of the vehicle by Jonathan, it was Jason who jumped out of the vehicle without hesitation to save me. While protecting me, he loudly told me that he loved me. And then half of his head was bitten off by the zombies, but everything happened so quickly at that time, and the scene was too bloody. How could I feel touched? There was only resentment and unwillingness in my heart. But Jason, I regarded his feelings for me as deep sisterly affection. Who could have thought that he really liked me? "I'll just say one thing. If you trust me, come and find me." I hung up the phone, sent him the address, and just then the doorbell rang. It was the 4 sets of solar generators, 2 sets of water purification equipment I had just bought, and the supermarket shelves that just filled the basement. I didn't expect the masters to come so quickly to assemble them. I was very satisfied and gave them nearly 20% more labor costs. After finishing all these things, it was already 5 p.m. I looked at my phone from time to time. "Good, Jonathan, you haven't called me even once until now." Wait a moment. On second thought, it was true. On this day in my previous life, Jonathan got up earlier than me. He kissed and hugged me, and prepared a rich breakfast for me. Then he told me that it was his rare day off, so he made an appointment to go out and play with his friends. He had always treated me very well and listened to me, so of course I let him go. Then, for the whole day, he was like a missing person. He didn't answer my calls, didn't answer my video calls, and didn't reply to my messages. As soon as he got home in the middle of the night, he took a shower, which lasted for a full 2 hours, when I scolded him. He knelt beside the bed, his head down, crying his eyes out. I liked him, so of course I chose to forgive him. Now that I think about it, he probably had several passionate encounters with Natalie. Forget it, why bother with a dead person? I immediately made a phone call. Yes, that's right, there's no one at home now, and I've already sent you the password. Yes, there was a thief in the house before, and my husband and I were quite scared. Yes. So can the surveillance cameras be installed before tonight? Okay, thank you. I hung up the phone with satisfaction, and began to plan how to stock up on supplies tomorrow. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, which startled me. I looked at the video doorbell and saw that it was Jason who came. He really brought 2 large suitcases. Seeing that he was about to call me, I quickly opened the door. Come in quickly. 5. Jason thought that since he came to find me, it wouldn't be appropriate for him to sleep on the bed or the sofa, so he brought an inflatable bed. Could he really be a genius? But I had already placed an order for 2 thick and soft top-quality mattresses. Jason was huffing and puffing as he inflated the inflatable bed. I leaned against the wall and kept adding things to the shopping cart. After I added several boxes of soda drinks, several boxes of puffed snacks, and several boxes of the classic old brand spicy strips. A big face panted and leaned close to me. Are you going to have a party? I was so scared that I slapped him, and my phone almost flew out. As a result, Jason covered his face and looked at me pitifully. The bed, let's sit on the bed, the floor is cold. After I apologized to him, I plopped down on the inflatable bed. You know what? It was really more comfortable than the hard floor. Just as I was about to lie down, the master who installed the surveillance cameras called me. I immediately answered the phone. He said that the hidden surveillance equipment had been installed at the positions I specified, and they were all solar-powered and automatically charged. As long as there was a light source, they could be used for a very long time. I want to see how Jonathan and Natalie wither away in the countdown to their lives. After taking a long breath, I fell onto the bed. Jason looked at me, moved away from me, and curled up on the other side of the bed, and began to deal with the things at his work. That's right, because before he came, he didn't ask me why, and he directly took his annual leave. After he came, he also didn't ask me why, and he even brought 2 quilts and 2 pillows, and a bunch of snacks that I usually liked to eat. He really trusted me. He also really cared about me. I saw that in the open suitcase. There were even some snacks that I rarely mentioned but really often repurchased. But do I still have the courage to start a new relationship? I'm not sure. In this life, besides seeking revenge, I also want to live safely. Let's think about other things after surviving until we reach the safe base. I suddenly thought, if I could really stay safe like this time, then what about my supernatural ability? Would it be awakened again? Lila, are you asleep? I stuck my head out of the quilt and looked at Jason. What's wrong? Jason's ears turned red. Actually, I came to see you because, I interrupted his stammering. You came to tell me that actually Jonathan is gay. He cheated on me with Natalie. When Jason heard this, he was completely stunned. 6. I couldn't stand it anymore. My mind was in a mess, and my heart was also in a mess. I turned over and sat up, shouting, quickly tell me why you came to find me. Hurry up and say it. He also seemed to be in a hurry and jumped up from the bed. Because I miss you and want to see you. Because I had a nightmare and dreamed that something bad happened to you. I was really scared. Before he finished speaking, 2 lines of tears appeared on his face. Although it was just a dream, I don't want anything bad to happen to you. I didn't know what to say for a moment, but I still hugged him. While gently stroking his back, I said softly, the world will soon be in turmoil. But we are safe here. As long as you follow me, you will also be safe. Do you trust me? He didn't say anything. He just hugged me tighter and then nodded. The emotional part was over. There was no time for love and romance. I gave him the task of purchasing supplies, saying that it should be enough supplies for at least 2 years without going out. He reported to me every time he added something to the shopping cart. 4 large-capacity refrigerators and 4 freezers. And various kitchen utensils. He actually knew more about them than I did. From pots, pans, and bowls to ovens, bread makers, and food processors. He said he had a chef's certificate, and he could cook any cuisine or dish I wanted. Then he bought 30 bags of rice, because I don't like eating rice, 60 bags of flour and 100 bundles of dried noodles, because I like eating noodles, 100 barrels of cooking oil, and also 30 boxes each of spaghetti, vermicelli, instant noodles, luosafen, snail rice noodles, and fire chicken noodles. When he reported these to me, I smiled like a flower. Later, I was really too tired, so I left the purchasing to him alone. I also bought various whole grains, seaweed, fungus, all kinds of mushrooms, as well as things like walnuts, wolfberries, dates, tremella, longans, and lotus seeds. I'm not quite sure what some of these are for, and all kinds of seasonings, sauces, butter, and sugars. No one would object that hot pot bases and yeast powder are essential, right? Then there are milk powder and fruit and vegetable powders. They can't be in cartons because I'm worried there won't be enough space. Since I had already added soda drinks, he only added tea and coffee. I took a nap for about 2 hours. When I woke up, he was still adding things to the shopping cart. Toilet paper and sanitary napkins are used up quickly, so he bought 500 packs of each. The fact that he thought of sanitary napkins showed how considerate he was. There's no need to mention shampoo, body wash, soap, and laundry powder. In addition, he bought replacement clothes and underwear, all well-known brand classics that are comfortable to wear. Since he knew I had bought 2 mattresses, he bought several sets of bed linens, for towels, blankets, and skin care products. He just bought them casually. I don't think I'll be in the mood to worry about those anyway. I paid with my fingerprint, but Jason insisted on transferring the money to me. He said that since he was already living in my house, he couldn't just freeload. His words reminded me of Jonathan. I told him that he would be in charge of cooking in the future, and then he didn't transfer the money. After I placed the order, the supermarket didn't call right away. They called after Jason and I took a short nap. They assumed I was a merchant restocking and said they would give me several large, value vouchers, hoping I would visit more often in the future. I used them all to exchange for purified water. After sorting all this out, Jason and I lay on the neatly arranged mattresses respectively. Of course, Jason was the one who tidied up the mattresses. Just as I closed my eyes, I heard Jason whispering on the phone, "Grandma, I'll come to see you at noon, same place, remember to wait for me." I opened my eyes in a start. That's right, Jason's grandma. 7. Jason's family situation is complicated. He was raised by his grandma with great hardship. My family situation is equally complicated. My parents weren't accepted by their families. After getting married, they left and started a new life far away, but they were deeply in love, and I grew up in happiness. However, during my school years, a sudden plane crash separated me from them forever. But the happy childhood and the selfless love my parents gave me are my strength to face all the difficulties in life. I'm confident in everything and have been actively creating a good life. Later, I met Jonathan. His original family was also happy, so I thought he was a good person. He pursued me and insisted on being with me despite his family's opposition. Remembering my parents, I was eventually moved by his so-called sincerity, unexpectedly. It was my oversight that allowed Jonathan to take advantage. In my previous life, we were a group of young people who took Jason's grandma with us at first. Later, Jonathan led the others in rejecting Jason's grandma. Thinking the old lady was a burden, Jason voluntarily left our group with his grandma. I had an argument with Jonathan because of this. Jonathan just coldly said to me, "If you keep arguing, the next one to be kicked out will be you." Before I could react, Jonathan hugged me and apologized and explained softly, "It was my fault for being so stupid. I really thought he was being childish and saying things out of anger." I shook my head, trying to clear away the darkness in my mind. Then I looked at Jason, who was about to go out. "Jason, wait a minute." He asked me if I needed him to bring anything back. I just smiled and said, "Bring your grandma here. Let's live together." Jason was stunned for a moment, and his eyes turned red. "It's okay. I can live next door to you with her." I checked the supermarket delivery. It was very close, but there was no time to argue with him, so I shouted, "Being neighbors, with your mediocre skills, how can you protect your grandma? Stop talking nonsense. Bring the old lady here quickly." Sure enough, Not long after Jason went out, the supermarket delivery trucks arrived one by one. More than a dozen workers were busy moving things, filling the basement and the bedrooms upstairs, but in the living room, I set up a mobile dining table, a lazy sofa, and areas for projection and video games with gamepads. This was in sharp contrast to the incautious life in my previous life. I couldn't even imagine how comfortable the days ahead would be, and I couldn't help but shed tears of joy. Tomorrow will be January 4th, and on January 7th, the world will change completely. I started to think about what was still missing. Then I turned on the surveillance video. That's when I remembered that the bastard Jonathan still hasn't called me even though he found I wasn't at home. I wanted to see what he was doing behind my back. The screen showed a lot of naked men. I widened my eyes in shock. Besides the big bed where Jonathan and I usually slept, Jonathan and Natalie were flirting with each other. On the sofa, there were 3 men I didn't know having sex. In the bathroom, 2 other men I didn't know were also having sex. Damn it, they even broke my expensive skincare products. I almost fainted, but I never expected there was more. 8. When I switched the screen back to Jonathan and Natalie, they had already finished and were whispering to each other. When are you and Lila going to have a baby? Natalie pouted. You said that as soon as the baby is born, you'll divorce her and go abroad with me. How long do you expect me to wait? Jonathan kissed and hugged him. How could I lie to you? It's just that I have no sexual desire for her, so I can't make it happen. These words were like a bolt from the blue to me. No wonder Jonathan always seemed reluctant when we were intimate. Sometimes he even showed a look of disgust, but I still tried to comfort him, saying it didn't matter if it was quick or not so intense. So he was disgusted by me, disgusted because I'm a woman who doesn't meet his sexual orientation, but he was also eager to have a child, saying that if he didn't leave an heir for the Jonathan family, he would feel guilty. So why did he have to ruin my life? You can pay some money and find someone to have a child. Why do you have to have one with her? Natalie said coquettishly, pretending to be angry. Jonathan stroked his cheek. Silly, look at Lila. She's beautiful and smart. She's in good health and rarely gets sick. She doesn't even have menstrual pain. Her genes are excellent. Why wouldn't I want a child with good genes? Besides, Lila has no parents. There's no one to support her. She probably thinks I'm her only legal family member. Look at the current marriage law. I'll be in the right and benefit no matter what. Looking at Jonathan's unfamiliar face on the screen, I felt a chill down my spine. This was the man who had pursued me for a year and lived with me for 2 years after marriage. This was the man who sweet talked me, spent only my money, and only wanted my womb. He didn't love me. He just wanted a child with good genes. I wiped away the tears on my face and turned off the video. After this, the Lila from my previous life was truly dead. Now, only the Lila in this life will continue to be happy. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. I looked at the video doorbell and saw that Jason and his grandma had arrived. I opened the door and welcomed them in. Grandma's eyesight was poor. She said she had already had surgery, but it didn't help much. As soon as she came in, she held my hand tightly with her warm and rough hands. She said she was finally meeting the friend Jason often talked about and thanked me for taking care of Jason. In fact, I should be the one thanking her for raising Jason so well. Grandma took her walking stick and slowly went to explore the house. Jason just stared at me and asked me what was wrong. I took his hand and asked, "Next, you'll face some harsh truths. Can you accept them?" He didn't understand, but his ears turned red as he followed me to the surveillance video. I showed him the video. The screen was filled with even more explicit scenes than before. After seeing it, he immediately turned bright red. Then turned his back to the screen and started talking to himself. I know sexual orientation is fluid and free, but my sexual orientation is you, Lila. Even if you tell me now that you're an alien, it's too late. I'll still like you, think about you, and want to hug you. I couldn't help but laugh. Girls, who understands? It seems I've found pure love. 9. When Jason calmed down, he finally realized that the main characters in the video were 2 of his good friends. First, he was shocked by Jonathan's infidelity during marriage. Then he was confused that the person Jonathan cheated with was Natalie. Jonathan and I were college roommates. I knew he was bisexual back then, but I never thought he would just be after a fake marriage. According to Jason, Jonathan was also popular with classmates and teachers in college. He had both boyfriends and girlfriends. Jonathan's excellent acting skills deceived everyone, then Jason suddenly understood. So the person Jonathan sometimes said he was going to meet was actually Natalie. He seemed to remember some details, but after looking at me, he gave me a sympathetic and apologetic look. I just waved my hand and said, "It's okay." Then I turned off the screen and said, "Let's think about what else is missing in our safe house." We discussed with Grandma and finally decided on a step-by-step plan. First, we dealt with garbage disposal. I bought a powerful garbage shredder that can shred all household waste. Jason found a renovation master who installed a direct pipeline to the underground drainage system in the house. Then we considered the storage and source of perishable foods like vegetables and fruits. With Grandma's advice, we bought a lot of vegetable and fruit seeds, as well as all the equipment and raw materials for hydroponics. The entire sunny platform in the attic could be used for a small-scale farm. Grandma also said we should buy some beans and bitterns so she could make tofu, ice jelly, and cold noodles. On January 5th, Grandma stayed at home to set up the small farm on the platform. Jason and I went out to buy a large amount of meat, vegetables, and fruits. When we got home, we sorted them and filled the freezers. Yes, we also froze eggs, duck eggs, goose eggs, etc. Jason said that if people don't exercise and stay indoors all the time, they'll get depressed, so in the afternoon, we bought 2 running generators. Just an hour of running every day can not only make us exercise and sweat but also generate enough electricity for cooking. Grandma's eyesight is poor, but her legs and feet are still agile. She can take a slow walk if she wants to. Jason also bought a lot of solar lights, which can absorb energy during the day and provide light at night. I bought 2 drones, a high-powered telescope, as well as chainsaws, axes, knives, ropes, gasoline, solid alcohol, etc. Grandma said we must have medicine, so we bought 2 cabinets full of it. Basically, there's medicine for every possible symptom we can think of. In addition, we needed spiritual nourishment. Jason and I, 2 young people, spent one night downloading thousands of movies and tens of thousands of novels and saved them on 4 computers. Of course, I bought all the existing console games, even the ones I used to criticize severely. We bought 2 sets of gamepads and VR equipment for Jason and me to use. As the sky was about to lighten, it was already 5 a.m. On January 6th, I carried the sleeping Jason and Grandma on my back and went to the car dealership. In my previous life, I was only 3 kilometers away from the safe base. In this life, I want to design an ultimate invincible battle vehicle to ensure I can reach the safe base safely. If I could stay in the safe house all the time, I definitely wouldn't want to take risks outside, but as far as I know, basically, everywhere except the safe base will fall sooner or later. After all, the safe base has complete equipment to resist external zombies and maintain internal survival cycles. 10. I arrived at the car dealership on time and gave the password to the boss. The boss took me to the VIP basement. When we opened the door, I saw an ultimate invincible battle vehicle that met my expectations. The outside of the car has stealth coating and an electric fence. The front and rear of the car have collision-resistant shovels. Inside the car, there are hidden food storage cabinets and cabinets for various weapons and mechanical equipment. When the seats are laid down, they become comfortable beds. The roof is covered with solar panels, so there's no need to worry about refueling. The base of the car is high, and it's even waterproof, so it won't leak when driving through water. The tires at the bottom of the car are strong and not easy to be damaged, and they can easily crush anything. The most important thing is that the entire car is made of lightweight materials, and the wheels are equipped with sound-proof devices. With the boss and her professional team, I felt completely at ease. The battle vehicle was transported back to my house, and I also bought the large truck that transported it. The truck was connected to my enclosed backyard. This way, when we evacuate, we can directly enter the large truck. Then we can load the battle vehicle with the supplies we need for the journey, get on the battle vehicle, drive out of the large truck, and head to the safe base. While I was watching the renovation master connect the backyard to the large truck with satisfaction, Jason and Grandma came out and asked me what was going on. I gave a brief explanation. Grandma trusted me completely and went back to the attic to work on the small farm. Jason stayed and helped me with the tidying up. Near noon, after we finished our work and were about to go inside to rest, suddenly, My phone rang. It was Jonathan calling. When Jason saw it, he left on his own. He took the cooked food to the attic to have lunch with Grandma. I answered the phone, and the voice on the other end was trembling. Lila, do you know everything? I thought. Ah. Jonathan must have run out of money and was urgently looking for the bank card. Then he saw that the money had been inexplicably transferred to my card. I sneered. Oh, so you remember me now, young master. You've been having a great time with Natalie these past few days, haven't you? The other end immediately started crying. Lila, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Listen to my explanation. We're really just good friends. He just sees me as an older brother. We have no other relationship. Please come home, don't divorce me. I was tired of it and interrupted him directly. I'm not going to divorce you. The crying tone on the other end suddenly disappeared. Really, I could even imagine his expression, with the corners of his mouth harder to suppress than an AK. Of course, I will never get a divorce. The person on the other end started chattering. Baby, I knew you still love me. I love you too, I immediately said. I only recognize being a widow. The other end was stunned. What, Lila, what are you talking about? I hung up the phone, feeling nothing but exhilaration in my heart. I deleted and blocked everything related to Jonathan. The zombie virus was about to sweep in. Jonathan definitely couldn't have imagined that the confusion and suffering of this night were just a small appetizer. When I put down my phone and picked up the chopsticks to eat, my whole hand couldn't stop shaking. How could I easily forget the emotions I had once invested? After all, people have feelings, but at the moment, excitement outweighed sadness, because from now on, I could love myself wholeheartedly. 11. Before going to bed, I specifically instructed Jason and Grandma, starting from January 7th and in the days that followed, the three of us must always live here. We should completely cut off contact with the outside world and have no more attachment to it. Grandma said it was already very good to be with Jason. In my previous life, 2 months after we abandoned Jason and Grandma, we met them again during our escape. I vowed that this time I must save them, otherwise I wouldn't use my supernatural ability either. Jonathan was forced into a corner and had no choice but to help. As a result, too many zombies came, and our weapons at that time were either broken or damaged, and we simply couldn't deal with them. I held Grandma with one hand and Jason with the other. Unexpectedly, Grandma smiled at me. Thank you, Lila. She shook off my arm and with all her strength, pushed Jason onto the car. In the end, she was overwhelmed by the zombies. To ensure our successful escape, she endured the pain and sang loudly to attract the blocking zombies. Keep going, don't look back. I looked up again and saw Jason and Grandma beside me, leaning against each other. I couldn't hold back and hugged them too. Who would have thought that Grandma would hug me even tighter? Thank you, Lila, thank you. I've never lived in such a big and bright house before. After it got late at night, I kept looking at the time and couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Jason whispered that he had made a sleep aid soup and would heat it up and bring it to me. After drinking the soup, I did feel much more drowsy. Jason kept a distance from me and just said softly, I'll make your favorite breakfast. See you in the morning. My eyelids grew heavy, and I really fell into a deep sleep. In the darkness, I felt shadows beside me. Finally, low growls surrounded me, and countless hands reached out towards me. I saw empty black eye sockets and bright red lips and teeth. How could this be possible? I should have already escaped. I just felt them tearing at me and splitting my head apart. Then something in my head seemed to explode. I could feel the ground shaking. And I saw it all. A large number of zombies from the neighboring urban area were surging towards us. I could sense them, and even sense them from a greater distance. What time was it now? Move quickly, my body, open your eyes quickly, my body. After waking up with a start, I saw Jason with tears streaming down his face. He was holding me and constantly wiping the blood from my nostrils with a warm towel. It's all my fault. That soup is what Grandma usually drinks. I thought anyone who couldn't sleep could drink it. It's all my fault. Please don't leave me, Lila, don't leave me. I raised my hand to wipe his tears. He put the towel into a dark red basin, hugged me even tighter, and cried even louder. I patted his back gently and glanced out the window. The dawn was just breaking. I let out a sigh of relief. My supernatural ability had returned, and we were all safe in the house. I was just busy comforting Jason. Don't wake Grandma up. Let's go to the attic for a while. Jason still looked at me worriedly, but I focused my attention on the outside of the window. The scene through the telescope was still peaceful, so the distance I sensed was even farther. As soon as I took my eyes off the telescope, I saw Jason beside me, who was about to feed me. I smiled and said, "It's okay, this is just a after effect." I lifted the scar at the back of my head, which was left by the plane crash. Jason nodded and insisted on feeding me. There was really only concern and warmth in his eyes. 12. It was almost 8 o'clock. Grandma and Jason were fertilizing beside me. I was still by the telescope. Suddenly, I saw a crowd undulating up and down, surging towards us like a dark and terrifying wave. "Here they come, they're here." The ground began to shake slightly. Jason thought it was an earthquake and pulled me and Grandma to go downstairs. I shook my head and told them not to worry. Then I asked Jason to come and take a look through the telescope. The wriggling crowd was like sardines packed tightly in a can, jostling against each other. Even with broken arms and legs, it didn't stop them from rushing in the same direction. Jason put down the telescope and looked at me in disbelief. I just nodded and said, "The turmoil has begun." They were moving very fast and had already flowed past our house like running water. The low growls and heavy footsteps soon drowned out our house. The black shadows passed by the anti-theft bars outside our window again and again, leaving behind patterns like the black and white keys of a piano on the glass. When Grandma saw them, she immediately lowered her head and continued digging the soil, muttering constantly, "The ghost soldiers are passing through. Living people should retreat. We have no intention of disturbing." Just as I had sensed, this wave of zombies passed by us at 8 o'clock. Now we were making lunch, and the end of their group was still out of sight, but my soundproof and odor-proof decoration was working. They really just bypassed us. The anchors on various news channels called it a mass riot by lawless elements. The radio and mobile phone text messages reminded all citizens again and again to find a favorable place to hide as soon as possible and wait for government rescue. There were even bloggers and anchors who immediately spread bloody live videos of the scene on the internet. The ground was covered with blood, there were broken limbs everywhere, and there were cries and screams all around. When Jason and I were washing the dishes, Grandma was making iced jelly beside us. Before enjoying the iced jelly, I set up a VR virtual environment for Grandma and let her eat the iced jelly while wearing the VR device. Jason and I ate the iced jelly while playing video games with gamepads. Suddenly, I saw a surveillance video pop up on the computer. "Here comes the video," a video to watch while eating. I paused the game, and took a few packs of puffed snacks, spicy strips, and an iced soda. 13. Jonathan and Natalie were not stupid. They also filled their house with supplies. Jonathan cooked as usual and made a steaming table of 4 dishes and 1 soup. It was very fancy, the two of them. From the kitchen to the dining table, kept exchanging glances and flirting with each other. Fortunately, I had downloaded a mosaic module in advance, so when some inappropriate scenes appeared, the video would automatically put a mosaic on them for me. Okay, after the two of them finished their meal, the video was all mosaicked. When the mosaic disappeared, the two of them were snuggling together. "Don't be afraid. The news said that the government won't give up on us," Natalie pouted. "What am I afraid of? I just feel sorry for you being deceived by that woman. She has such a cruel heart. She even took the bank card away. Everyone knows that she must be keeping a gigolo outside behind your back." Jonathan smiled and said, "No, she's a soft-hearted person. When the disaster is over and everything is stable, she will definitely come back to me." I was left speechless. These two lovebirds, I kind of shipped them, but the things they bought were just like themselves. They looked good but were of no real use. Those boxes of instant noodles, although they stacked up to form a wall, were definitely not enough for 2 men to eat. They did buy rice, but only a few big bags. The frozen food seemed to fill the refrigerator, but in fact, after unpacking, there were only enough for a few meals. They were smart enough to prepare a few buckets of water, but they weren't completely smart. The amount of water in those buckets would at most last for half a month for drinking and cooking. As I remembered, Jonathan was like a water buffalo and could drink a lot. If I'm not mistaken, in that community, the water inlet valve would be damaged by the zombie horde before tonight. Once the water supply stopped, the two of them would really suffer. After eating the iced jelly, Grandma said she wanted to take a nap. Jason came and asked me what I wanted to eat in the evening. I said that after eating all the salty snacks and soda, I wanted something light in the evening. Jason readily agreed and went into the kitchen to wash the fruits and vegetables. He made a fruit salad, fresh fruit juice, and even a fruit porridge. As it was getting dark, after Grandma woke up, she drank the warm fruit and vegetable porridge, a low-sugar version. I drank the iced fruit porridge and finished the salad. We saved the fresh fruit juice for a midnight snack, to go with the spicy snacks. When I opened the surveillance video again, it was still shaking with mosaics. Suddenly, there was a loud dong 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 sound in the video, which scared the two of them half to death. They were both running around naked, so two moving mosaics went to the door. It turned out that the neighbor across the door had been broken into by the zombies. Then the zombified neighbor came to smash on Jonathan's door. Jonathan and the other person immediately sealed the gaps in the door frame with transparent tape. They were somewhat smart. After the zombies at the door slowly left, Jonathan and the other person slowly started to get intimate at the door. Then the screen was filled with mosaics again. 14. The shocking thing was that they were shouting inside the door while the zombies were roaring outside. I couldn't hold back my laughter. There really were people who were seeking their own death. Suddenly, Jason called me to do some light exercise. I closed the video and went to the exercise room with Jason. We chatted and walked and ran for more than 10 kilometers on the electricity-generating treadmill. We accumulated a few degrees of electricity and also worked up a sweat from the exercise. Sure enough, after exercising, I felt much more relaxed. When I went to the attic and took a look, there were only a few wandering zombies near us. Because most of the zombies had gone to the bustling urban areas full of sounds and smells. While I was looking down and observing the soft soil, Jason came upstairs and called me softly, "Lila, a surveillance video popped up on your computer." I nodded, not showing any intention of going downstairs to watch it. Jason added, "It's very chaotic in the video. It might already be." As soon as I heard that, I immediately went downstairs to check. Just as Jason had said, the scene in the video was because Jonathan and Natalie had made too much noise. It attracted the zombies one after another and also aroused the anger of the other neighbors who wanted to go out for help but were blocked inside the door by the zombies. Everyone was swearing at each other in the video. Then I looked at the surveillance in the corridor and saw the zombies wandering back and forth following the sound. Only more and more zombies were surging up from the stairway. They rushed towards the door with the loudest sound. That door was right next to Jonathan's. The door was fragile and already scarred, and it was directly broken through by the zombies. Screams replaced the curses. As soon as Jonathan heard that the neighbor next door had fallen, he immediately took Natalie and hid in the bedroom. They were scared because the windows of the neighbor's house and their house faced each other. There was a narrow platform between the windows. If the zombies squeezed out of the windows, they would directly break into Jonathan's house. They should have realized the danger and were preparing to find something to seal and block that window. Who would have thought that while they were sealing the window, the neighbor who was being eaten by the zombies and was on the verge of death appeared on the window glass opposite. When the neighbor saw Jonathan and the other person, a terrifying smile appeared on his face. He actually opened the window with his own hands and then fell down along with the zombies. Some of the zombies that didn't fall down squeezed towards Jonathan and Natalie along the platform. Jonathan picked up a broom and protected Natalie behind him. Unexpectedly, the window that had just been sealed was no match for the group of zombies. Even if the zombies were cut in half, they still squeezed past the table and sofa blocking the window and crawled towards Jonathan and Natalie. Finally, more and more zombies poured in, and their strength pushed aside the table, sofa, and cabinet. Originally, Jonathan and Natalie were both fighting, but when Natalie saw more and more zombies, he pushed Jonathan towards the zombie horde. This scene, I didn't know how to react. Tears welled up in my eyes and streamed down my face, but I was smiling. "Jonathan, you finally got what you deserved." 15. Jonathan was soon overwhelmed by the zombie horde, and Natalie hid in the bedroom with a mop in his hand. What good would the bedroom door do? He pushed the bed against the door and then wanted to run from the balcony to another seemingly quiet and safe balcony. The distance was only about 1.5 meters, and he could jump over it, but he just didn't dare. The zombie horde quickly squeezed into the bedroom and rushed towards the balcony. It was too late when Natalie jumped up. The zombie horde collapsed the balcony, and Natalie didn't jump high enough. When he desperately lunged towards the safe platform, The zombies behind him grabbed his leg. The next second, he fell down together with the zombies. I closed the video. I thought I would never open this surveillance video again. Jason silently brought me the snacks and fresh fruit juice that I had just said I wanted for a midnight snack. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he wanted to leave quietly. I grabbed his arm. "Do you remember the car in the backyard?" Jason nodded. I stood up and continued, "Later. I will take you and Grandma to the real safe human base. You will trust me, right?" He placed my hand on his beating heart. "I have always trusted you." In that instant, the scene from my previous life seemed to overlap with the current scene. In my previous life, our group was planning to seize a vehicle and go to the human safe base, but Jonathan and the others didn't fully believe in my supernatural ability. They thought that the reason I could take them to some safe places was just because they were lucky. The night before our departure, Jonathan said to me, "If this fails, how many lives can you bear the responsibility for, Lila?" I was under a lot of pressure and very anxious. When I was standing in the cold wind, Jason came up and brought me a bottle of mineral water, but the mineral water was slightly warm. It was as if it had been kept warm all the time. At that time, I thought he had also come to persuade me to change the plan. I just said, "I've made up my mind. Even if I'm alone, I will go there to get the car." Jason nodded. "I will help you. I won't hold you back." I looked at him. "Do you trust me?" His eyes were as bright as stars. "I have always trusted you." I hugged him. He seemed to be stunned for a moment and then reciprocated my hug. After the water and electricity supply were cut off, the network and signal also gradually deteriorated. There were no more real-time news reports. Only a mechanical voice told everyone to stay at home and wait for government rescue. But as far as I knew, we could only take the initiative to go to the human safe base, because there were no longer enough resources and power to support the government in rescuing people everywhere. The fact that the government could still send drones to deliver supplies was already a good thing, but it was not a long-term solution. I was finally overwhelmed by the zombie horde and devoured completely. The three of us, Jason, and Jason's grandma, lived self-sufficiently in the cozy safe house for a year and a half. Just like in my previous life, after a year and a half, the radio began to publicize the address of the human safe base. We loaded the battle vehicle with supplies and weapons, as well as mobile power supplies, detachable solar panels, and a series of mechanical equipment. Then the battle vehicle drove out of the backyard. All the way, I looked at the map and sensed the number of zombies nearby at the same time, and Jason was in charge of driving day and night. We traveled for nearly 7 days, and I finally saw what the human safe base looked like, the towering fortress, with only the large beams of light scanning the ground back and forth swaying in the white fog. The three of us went through layers of inspections and were finally recognized. This time, I finally entered the safe base, because I had used my supernatural ability for a long time. When the soldiers led us to our family room, I fainted and fell to the ground. When I woke up again, there was a sleepy-looking Jason beside me. He hugged me, and I hugged him. I asked about Grandma. It turned out that Grandma had already applied to join the Ministry of Agriculture and was now busy, just because of Grandma's eyesight. The soldiers didn't force her to do a heavy workload. But Jason wanted to be in the same department as me after I recovered. So during the time I was in a coma, he did everything and went wherever there was a shortage of people, but he didn't have a fixed position. After I recovered, I found that my supernatural ability was still there, so I didn't hesitate to apply to join the outgoing rescue department. Generally, it was a team led by 2 to 3 professional soldiers with 4 or 5 ordinary citizens. Jason and I were in the same team. I could finally do something with the help of my supernatural ability. Before the first mission, I looked at Jason and said, "We will come back safely together with the rescue targets." Jason looked at me tenderly and said, "I believe in us."